Chapter 3209 Blood Sacrifice. Destiny breaks. Blood pool spills. The Alpha King's prophecy has come true. The priest looked very excited. He let the blood merrily fall on him as he kowtowed before Qin Jingzhen. My king, the Alpha King's prophecy appeared. This is a good sign for the prosperity of the Qin kingdom. Please use the special method for performing a blood sacrifice. Qin Jingzhen looked conflicted. He stared at the blood pool of the destiny well without saying a word. Kings always thought more than the average person. Although this was a prophecy spoken of by the Alpha King, Qin Jingzhen could not be entirely sure this was it. Will the prophecy happen just like it was recorded? Is this just a pre-established trick? As a king and a father, he had to be careful. After all, this all had to do with an Alpha King he had never met. If the prophecy was the truth, it was a lucrative prospect for Qin Jingzhen to consider. The prophecy predicted a king that would rule for 1,000 years. Upon thinking about that, Qin Jingzhen felt the blood in his body boil. Conquer the universe and become a king for 1,000 years. Can I do that? Qin Jingzhen clenched his fists. He stared at the destiny well, which was spewing blood. His face looked strangely red. Qin Jingzhen had always been a smart king. His heart also held great aspirations. If he was able to rule the universe like the prophecy claimed to him, that was all he wanted. As a king, Qin Jingzhen knew he should not do things he was not 100% certain of. While he was deep in thought, the priests that had been sprayed by the blood started madly shouting. Their bodies glowed with a god light. It was as if they contained a strong power. My king, the water of destiny is reinforcing my body, the priest happily shouted. I feel as if even if I did not use a gene race and a god spirit blood pulse power, I could beat many elites. Qin Jingzhen and Qin Bai fell back. Some servants generated power to make a shield of light that would protect them from the blood water. Upon hearing the priest's words, Qin Jingzhen was awfully tempted. He saw the bodies of the main priest and other priests grow stronger. He said to himself, if this entire prophecy is true, the thing inside destiny well can make people holy. My king, let's start the blood sacrifice, the priest begged. For this to happen is a rare opportunity. If this was like the prophecy said, then the blood pulse spring was just a herald. The treasure inside the destiny well required a blood sacrifice to be retrieved. Qin Jingzhen's face kept changing. He was a king, but sometimes even he was indecisive. As a king, it was not wise to take a risk like this. If he missed this opportunity, he might miss the only chance he had to unite the entire universe. Qin Jingzhen did not want to miss this opportunity, ergo he did not know what to do. Seeing Destiny Well's blood spring become smaller and almost disappear, the priest again pleaded with him. My king, please do not skip out on this opportunity. Qin Jingzhen had yet to make a choice. He gnashed his teeth and bowed to the wall behind the Destiny Well. What should I do? Please show me the way. Hansen was shocked. He did not see anyone there. He looked at the wall. Before this, Hansen had only been looking at the well. He had not noticed there was something on the wall. When he looked at the wall, he saw a giant painting. There was a blossoming plum tree depicted in the painting. The flowers were opening, and the petals were falling. Underneath the boughs of the plum tree, deer were munching on the petals. Next to the plum tree was an old man in a white robe, who was sitting on the tree roots. The old man had a white beard in white, which complemented his white robe. He was holding a black wooden cane with a top that looked like a wine bottle. Qin Jingzhen was consulting with the old man in the painting for guidance on how to proceed. I am only in charge of guarding here, the old man in the painting said in response. I do not care about anything else. It is up to you if you want to take this chance. It was like he was a living person. If there is any danger, can you please protect me and Bai my son? Qin Jingzhen asked. I have been in this painting for so long, guarding this place for billions of years. I have watched the rise and fall of the Qin kingdom with many outsiders and elites reaching this place. Yet the god temple was never destroyed. The old man in the painting, who was sitting near the plum tree, spoke quietly. Even though his voice was quiet, his words were overbearing. With you speaking, I will not be afraid. Qin Jingzhen's eyes looked bright as his face turned red. To be able to rule the universe during his lifetime, and become a king for 1,000 years was all Qin Jingzhen wanted. In his lifetime, he could not see another hope of uniting the universe. Thus he had to let go and see if there was hope. Of course, the most important thing about all this was that the old man in the painting was protecting him. That was how Qin Jingzhen had the courage to try. The old man in the painting had protected the Qin kingdom for many generations. He had saved the Qin kingdom from being destroyed through the many crises it had endured. He was the biggest beacon of guidance for the Qin kingdom. If the old man in the painting wanted the Qin kingdom to die, then the Qin kingdom would have died many times over by now. All the kings took their gods seriously. They were even more important than the Qin family getting god spirit blood pulses. If a guy like that said he would protect them, despite the danger, it would not lead to a catastrophe. Priest, get ready for the blood sacrifice. Qin Jingzhen's eyes looked bright as he made the command. The priest was very happy. He kneeled in the blood water and said, "Yes, I will prepare." The priests prepared the blood sacrifice. Han Sen stood next to Qin Bai. They kept looking at the destiny well and blood water on the floor. Han Sen could not tell how the blood water had changed the bodies of the priests, but he did not feel safe about the situation. Han Sen thought, Qin Xiu was able to do anything for what he wanted. If he tried to trick his people, I would not be surprised. Now he was just posing as Qin Bai's servant, so he could not speak. Even if he used his identity to advise Qin Jingzhen not to do it, Qin Jingzhen would have likely ignored him and had him kicked out. First, this was the Qin family's business. Second, Han Sen could not determine the exact nature of the problem he was feeling. If the Qin family's alpha was not good, it would harm them. Thus, Qin Jingzhen would not want to do a blood sacrifice. First and foremost, Qin Jingzhen would probably find people to kill him. The old man in the painting had a mysterious power. Not even Han Sen knew how strong he was. He did not know who he was either. Han Sen had no confidence in beating him in a universe in which he was suppressed. The Qin kingdom also had many elites, and many of them had god spirit gene races. The priest preparing the blood sacrifice was not a normal character either. He had to be a god spirit blood pulse inheritor. Han Sen thought the blood sacrifice required the Qin family's blood pulse blood. He soon discovered it was not like that. The priest brought in a girl. The girl was about 13 or 14 years old. She looked terrified. She was obviously not from the Qin family. Chapter 32:10 The thing in the well. There was fear in the young lady's eyes, but she still listened to the priest and went toward the destiny well. At this time, the blood spring in the destiny well was almost gone. The priest shouted at the girl, "Do not be afraid. Just use the same method that I have always taught you. It will be fine." "Yes," the young lady replied. She walked in front of the destiny well and brandished her sacrificial knife. She drew it across her wrist to leak her blood into the well. The wound was deceptively small. While a preliminary examination of the wound would have revealed that it was not very big, quite a lot of blood was drawn. There was so much red blood flowing that it could be compared to a faucet that would not close. With blood gushing out of her, the young lady let it all pour into the murky waters of the destiny well. It was a strange scene. When the lady's blood touched the well water coming out started going back in. Han Sen had been intensely watching the young lady, but he did not notice anything special about her. She did not show any sign of possessing a god spirit blood pulse, and she did not have a gene race. She was just a commoner. If that wasn't a blood pulse belonging to the Qin family, and she does not have a high-class god spirit blood pulse, why would they use this girl for the blood sacrifice? Han Sen wondered. While the girl bled, the destiny well returned to normal. The wound was not large, but as all that blood spilled out of her, it was not too long before the young lady's face started to look pale. Suddenly, the chains of the well made a la noise. The broken black chains again came out of the destiny well like a pair of lashing, toxic snakes. They gripped the young lady's injured hand. The young lady was pulled toward the destiny well. Qin Jingzhen and the priest were shocked. The priest shouted at the young lady, "Hurry! Bring the chain up. If you get pulled down you will die." The young lady gnashed her teeth and yanked the chain. She used 2 hands to pull it. Because the chains were so heavy and she had lost so much blood, it was difficult for her to pull. The wounds on her wrist were still bleeding. They dripped on the black chains, dyeing them red. Hansen was confused. He did not know why they let this one girl pull it. After all, the Qin kingdom had many elites. Was no one else going to help her? Qin Jingzhen watched the girl pull the chain inch by inch. He was shocked as he said, "Many kings of the Qin kingdom cannot pull this chain. They can't even pull them an inch. This girl does not have any power, yet she can pull it. It really is just as the legends say. The Alpha has indeed blessed us with a desire for the Qin kingdom to grow." The priest looked excited. The Qin kingdom has had so many years, months, days, and time ladies that have been born. Never have they proven themselves useful until today. Now there is no waste. Whatever the Alpha King left behind must be important. Hansen heard them speak and understood that not every girl could do what she was doing. The Qin kingdom had many of these young ladies, but only now was one being used. Because pulling the chain was so hard, the young lady's wounds were leaking even more. Her face went paler as time went by. It was all very strange. The more she bled, the lighter the chain became and the more of the chain she was able to pull. The destiny well made some metallic sounds. It sounded as if something metal had struck the wall. It sounded as if the item was almost up to the surface. Everyone went to look at the well, wanting to know what the Qin kingdom's Alpha had left behind inside the well. As she pulled, there was a dong sound. Something struck the well. The girl pulled it, but she failed. The chain was heavy. "Pull harder. You must pull it out." The priest quickly yelled. He would have loved to help the girl pull it out. Unfortunately, the Alpha said only the girls born in a year, month, and day, and at a time could pull the chain out of the well. If anyone else touched the chain, whatever resided inside the destiny well would remain buried in there for all of time, and never be revealed. The priest knew a lot of things, but he would not dare help her. He just had to nervously wait on the side. Qin Jingzhen was nervous too. Although he did not exhibit any changes, his hands were clasped into a fist. He was not as calm as he looked. Qinbai was curious. He stuck his head out to look into the destiny well. From where he stood, he could not see what was inside the destiny well. The young lady kept bleeding and trying to pull. She knew if she did not pull that thing up fast, the bleeding would kill her. The young lady kept biting so hard that she was going to bleed. The chain finally moved again. She pulled it about 2 feet higher. The chain reached the end. The other side of the chain looked as if it was tied to a ring. The ring was made of black metal. It did not look gold, silver, bronze, or iron. It was unknown what kind of metal it was. It was strangely heavy. The young lady kept pulling what was below the metal ring. It was a metal box. Qin Jingzhen's eyes looked bright. He was a king, but he looked very excited. The thing inside the box might have been what it would take to reunite the Qin kingdom, so it was hard for him not to feel excited. The young lady almost couldn't hold it. She had no god spirit blood pulse or the aid of a gene race. She used her natural strength to pull the chain. Plus, she had bled so much. If her will was not as stable as it was, she would have let it go and slipped into a coma. The girl was bleeding from her mouth. She kept pulling the chain while stumbling back. She pulled part of the metal box out of the destiny well. From what they saw, the height of the box was surprising. Its width was 3 feet, but it was at least 4 feet high. The bottom of the box still could not be seen. Hansen thought this was weird. He thought it was a box, but the box was very tall. If he looked at it horizontally, it was rectangular. Why does this box look like a strange coffin? Hansen thought. Boom. Boom. While Hansen was thinking, the box was pulled out by the girl. It was outside of the well. Everyone now saw what the box looked like. It was a box made from black metal. It was not a square, and there were no adornments on it. As they looked at it, they saw it was 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. Hansen thought it looked like a weird metal coffin. Chapter 32:11 Dead body in the coffin. The young lady pulling the coffin let the chain go. She fell to the side and bowed to Qin Jingzhen. Good. 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 You did a fine job. Qin Jingzhen was so happy that he said the good 3 times. One of the priests took the young lady away to heal while Qin Jingzhen and the main priest went to examine the black metal box. The rectangular metal box had no symbols on it, but the lid was different from an ordinary coffin. Normally, the lid of a coffin had one side. This metal box's lid was on the side where the metal ring was. A ring was positioned between the lid and the box. If the ring was pulled, the lid would open. Qin Jingzhen had no idea that the two servants present were Han Sun and Bauer in disguise. He thought only his confidants were there, so he ordered the others to open the box via that ring. The ring was on one side of the metal box, which was not locked. The priests went to pull the ring and chain to open the lid. It was different from what they had imagined. The lid was connected to something. As the lid was pulled, the item hung in the air. Below the lid was a rectangular piece of ice. It was unknown how this ice had stayed so cold. It looked transparent, like it was a perfect crystal. A blonde woman was encased in the ice. "That is Wanner's dead body," Han Sun secretly screamed. The woman in the ice looked just like Wanner when she was blonde, but this blonde lady's face was pale and snow-white. It did not look lively. It did not look like she was alive. Qin Jingzhen and the main priest just looked at each other. Before they opened the lid, they had many guesses as to what was inside. No matter what they had predicted, they had not expected to see a lady's dead body inside the box. Qin Jingzhen frowned as he looked at the priest and asked, "Is this the treasure that the Alpha King left?" He had no clue how a woman's dead body could aid him in ruling the world. The priest was also very confused. He developed a wry smile and said, "The Alpha King was a character like a god. There has to be a reason as to why he left behind this body." Qin Jingzhen wished to say something, but he heard Qin Bai, who was still kneeling, start to scream. She moved. Qin Jingzhen and the priest looked over at the rectangular block of ice. There was nothing out of the ordinary. The blonde lady was still in the ice. She hadn't moved. Qin Jingzhen wanted to ask Qin Bai something, but he immediately heard a catcha sound. A long crack appeared in the ice. That crack was similar to someone pushing the first domino piece. That one crack in the ice multiplied into many. Lots of them rapidly developed across the ice. "Protect the king." A guard moved to protect Qin Jingzhen and Qin Bai. A pang sound was heard. The ice, which had formed many cracks, suddenly exploded. The dead body of the blonde lady did not fall down with the hailstorm of ice bits. She just floated in the air. Although she did not have a life force, one could sense a golden wave within her body. It was the power that made her stable in the air. Han Sun knew this power. This was the power Wanner used to enter her blonde lady mode. It was bad for his super god spirit mode, as they always cancelled each other out. The priest's expression did not change as he suddenly said, "My king, I remember. The legends claim that when the Alpha King was born, he was no good. There wasn't a single god spirit willing to give him a god spirit blood pulse, but the Alpha King's real sister was blessed by God. When she was born, she had an incredible god spirit blood pulse. Because she did not want to see her big brother get bullied, she gave her god spirit blood pulse to her brother. Ever since then, the Alpha was very powerful. From a nobody, he became the man that created the Qin kingdom. It was all because of the princess giving away her god spirit blood pulse. I know that. The legend says the Alpha King was unable to keep the god spirit blood pulse going, so the next of the bloodline was blessed by an annihilation class god temple instead. It never did come from the original Alpha. The Qin kingdom's current god spirit blood pulse is different from the Alpha King. All of that is just a legend. No one knows for sure the validity of it all. Do you understand something, priest? Qin Jingzhen finally understood what the priest was thinking. The priest was very happy and nodded. If I have guessed it correctly, that legend might be true. This is the Alpha's fabled princess. He left her body here, and said it could help you rule the universe. Perhaps the princess's god spirit blood pulse is different from that of the legends. Perhaps she did not give it all to her brother. Maybe her god spirit blood pulse can always be given to others, and that is why the Alpha kept her body here. It was for his children to have too. Qin Jingzhen's eyes looked very bright. If he could get the legendary Alpha King's blood pulse, he would be like the Alpha. He could become a king that would shock the entire universe. Qin Xiu had come close to ruling the universe. If Qin Jingzhen received a blood pulse like Qin Xiu, he thought he would not be any inferior to Qin Xiu. Han Sun was not as optimistic about these prospects as they were. After all, Qin Jingzhen and the others only knew about Qin Xiu from the books they had read. History books were not going to portray the Qin Kingdom Alpha as an enemy. Let's not suggest Qin Xiu was super evil, but even if he was, he would have been praised as a proper hero. Han Sen understood the real Qin Xiu. Regardless of anything else, that man would have done anything for his sister, Wanner. Qin Xiu wanted Wanner's god spirit blood pulse, so he could give it to his descendants. That was why he had set this up. Han Sen did not believe it, not one syllable of it. It was likely the other way around. The gold waves from Wanner's body grew stronger. In the beginning, it was just like an ordinary wave of water. Now it had become a gold fire that raged around her. Impossible. The priest said upon seeing the gold flames around Wanner. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This is unbelievable. There is no sign of a god spirit, and there is no scary gene race buff. It's just her body power that is this strong. She is stronger than a Breakworld elite. What is the Alpha Princess's blood, pulse power? In fact, there was no need for him to say that. Qin Jingzhen was able to tell all of this as well. Wanner was indeed very powerful. He was a king with an annihilation god spirit blood pulse, and could use the strongest gene races of the Qin kingdom. Even with all that, he could not match her might. Just for her body to have such a scary power, with my Qin family's god spirit blood pulse and gene races, who in this universe would be able to compete with me? Even the very high god spirits would be afraid of me. Qin Jingzhen looked like he was picturing himself uniting the universe. His eyes glowed as he looked upon Wanner. Han Sen grew increasingly nervous. Wanner's power seemed stronger than when she was in the Geno universe. She was far scarier here. Wanner was a good girl. In blonde mode, she could not control her will or her power. Even Han Sen had been beaten by her. Han Sen suddenly thought of an incredibly scary possibility. Hang on. Wanner's gold power goes against my super god spirit mode. Does that mean her power is a reverse super god spirit mode? Chapter 32:12 Revive. Han Sen kept thinking. Whenever Wanner reached the Geno universe and her gold power showed up, she would become exhausted. Han Sen believed it was her body that had the problem. Now that he was able to think about it some more, he started to believe it was similar to what he was going through. The Geno universe restricted all powers that did not belong there. Wanner's body needed to have her gold power restricted if her body was to recover. Han Sen's super god spirit mode did not get along well with her power. It restricted her reverse super god spirit mode power. It made her body normal again. Han Sen was still confused about something. After Wanner was reborn, her body should have belonged to the race of the witch. They were from the Geno universe. Even if she was restricted by the Geno universe, why did she have the powers of her past life? Han Sen quickly came up with one possibility for this conundrum. Perhaps the body of the witch Wanner did not actually belong to her in the first place. It might have come from Qin Xiu, who went to that world. After thinking about this some more, Han Sen did not think that could be accurate either. Qin Xiu's gene race was World King God. His power should have been similar to the World King God's power for him to combine with World King God and break the world. His Super God Spirit Mode power was not World King God's power. Han Sen thought it was weird. He could not understand it right now, but there was one thing he knew for certain. The blonde lady he was looking at was truly Wanner, and she was probably combined with the two Wanners from both universes. Does that mean when World King God put me and Wanner into the tunnel that bridged the two worlds, it was supposed to just pull the witch Wanner and combine her with the Wanner of her past life to revive Wanner? Han Sen was shocked. He could not be certain his guess was correct. Han Sen's body's Super God Spirit Mode was restricted by the rules of the world. Now Wanner's body power had become very strong because the Wanner from two worlds had combined. Han Sen could feel his Super God Spirit Mode had been severely restricted. Even though he was a fair distance away from Wanner, he could barely feel his body and Super God Spirit Mode power. If this Wanner wants to kill someone, who in this world can hope to stop her? Han Sen felt a chill run down his spine. Han Sen understood that the Super God Spirit Mode was very scary. When he could use it without its imposed limits, he could fight Break World elites. He could even beat the low-level Break World elites. Now Wanner's power dwarfed Han Sen's power. After all, The power of Wanner from both worlds had been combined into one. Her power had become the power of two people. This effect was not so simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The current power Wanner wielded made Han Sen's heart shake. At this time, Wanner's eyes opened to reveal gold pupils that shone like a pair of suns. Her eyes were very pretty, but they lacked warmth. Therefore her eyes looked cold. Alpha Princess, my surname is Qin. Qin Jingzhen had everyone bow before the blonde lady. He hoped to receive her blood pulse blessing. Han Sen knew things were going to get worse. With Wanner's situation being what it was, she would be just like the blonde Wanner. She would not recognize anyone. In the past, Han Sen's super god spirit mode was able to cancel Wanner's power. Now it had been so long, and his super god spirit mode power was being suppressed. Wanner's gold power was affected a bit, but it could still explode. Han Sen wondered if he had the power to stop Wanner. Han Sen prayed to himself. I hope things won't go as bad as I think they might. I hope Qin Xiu is not as bad as I thought. For people like Han Sen, they had a knack for having their greatest fears come true. It was not like he had a special feature. It was just that he was able to perceive things for how they truly were. If he thought something might happen, there was a high chance he was right. Wanner floated in the air. Her blonde hair dropped. She was like a god looking down on Qin Jingzhen from a lofty place. She still looked very cold. Qin Jingzhen sensed something was really wrong. His face changed. He could not help but retreat as many guards and priests moved to protect him and Qin Bai. Wanner finally moved. Suddenly, she came right before Qin Bai. She was so fast that the very powerful guards could not even see how she moved. Seeing Wanner grab Qin Bai's head, the other guards and priests had yet to react. Only Qin Jingzhen, who was next to Qin Bai, noticed. His body mustered a scary power. He summoned a thunder-like, destroying the world-type power as he threw a punch at Wanner's hands. Han Sen had to confess he had underestimated the king. Ordinary kings were usually busy with business affairs, so they never practiced their combat to extreme levels. Although the humans of the Qin kingdom borrowed power from the outside, if they did not have enough innate power or will, it was hard to command a powerful god spirit blood pulse and gene race as well. Qin Jingzhen's power was not weak. Han Sen could tell he had practiced hard. He had not reached a break-world level, but he was a rare type of person in the realm of humans. The punch he threw must have had the power of decapitation queen. Wanner's hand did not look very strong. It did not look like it wielded any power. It was just that her hand was burning with a gold flame. Pang! When Qin Jingzhen's punch touched down on Wanner's hand, the king's entire body flew away like a broken kite. As he descended, he coughed up a lot of blood. His overbearing punch was swallowed the moment it came into contact with the golden light. There was not a single drop or dot left of it. It did not even make a sound. My king! The main priest screamed. He flew over and caught Qin Jingzhen's body, but he also spat out blood. He hit a wall with Qin Jingzhen. Wanner's hand still moved to grab Qin Bai's head. Qin Bai was frozen in place. He had never seen this before. He had never seen his proud father ever be reduced to such trouble. A body flashed. Han Sen held Qin Bai and retreated like a shadow. No matter how much of an asshole Qin Bai was, he had always been nice to Han Senator thus. Han Sen did not want to watch the boy get killed right in front of him. At the same time, the painting on the wall of the Destiny Well chamber began to glow. The old man in the drawing had a god light. He walked out of the painting like a god. He stood in front of Wanner. The old man still held his black cane. His body brimmed with a god light as he looked at Wanner and said, I promise to protect this temple. No matter what you are, you cannot kill here. Chapter 32:13 Old man in the painting. A priest moved to protect the injured Qin Jingzhen, and the main priest. As they retreated, he said, My king, I will ask more people to come and help. Qin Jingzhen looked frustrated as he gnashed his teeth and said, Shut up. No one is allowed to leave the god temple. I will kill anyone who tries to leave. If whatever happens today is made public, you will all be killed. It was unimaginable what might happen if it was made known that an incident took place in the Alpha Temple, resulting in Qin Jingzhen being injured. How much would that affect the Qin kingdom? The losses for the Qin kingdom could not be calculated, let alone fathomed. Qin Jingzhen could not let that happen. He believed the old man in the painting could sort this problem out. "Father!" Qin Bai cried as he ran before Qin Jingzhen. He had never seen Qin Jingzhen in such a state. His hair was messed up, and he had blood in his mouth. He looked pale and a bit green. "Do not be afraid, Bai son. All is fine." Qin Jingzhen patted Qin Bai on the head. He allowed a trusted man to take Qin Bai and leave the temple. Although people might become suspicious of the crown prince leaving before everyone else, Qin Jingzhen did not want to risk his son's life. He was Qin Jingzhen's only son, so nothing could be allowed to happen to him. He forced a smile. He looked at Han Sen, who was next to Qin Bai, and asked, "Are you Han Sen? I have been wanting to meet you, but I never thought we would meet at a time like this." The teacher was right. "You are a unique man. Please forgive me for joining here uninvited," Han Sen casually said. He did not really care for Qin Jingzhen. His attention was mostly fixed on the old man and Wanner. "My king, who is the old man in the picture?" Han Sen thought the old man in the painting looked godly. He did not look human. He looked more like a god spirit than a human. "It is good that you came uninvited. If you had not come, my son would be put in danger." Qin Jingzhen paused and went on to say, "That elite is not a human. He is a powerful god spirit. Back in ancient times, he was as strong as 12 annihilation god spirits." As strong as 12 annihilation god spirits? Han Sen was shocked. How could a god spirit like that not be in a god temple, but instead relegated to a painting inside another god temple? Qin Jingzhen did not hide anything. "I do not really know who he is. I only know that one of the Alpha Kings invited him in to protect the temple. The legends claim he is an old god. Before the 12 main gods existed, he was already that powerful. I have tried doing my best to research his origins, but no information about him has been discovered." Upon hearing Qin Jingzhen say all that, Han Sen was shocked. The old man in the painting was clearly very powerful. When Han Sen had fought Moment God, he got a grasp of what true power was like. This man far exceeded that. Aside from those 12 annihilation god spirits, only the person inside the Geno Hall could be that powerful. The old man in the painting was not him. If such a powerful god spirit existed, it would have been from before the universe rebooted. The God Hall leader had told Han Sen that because the universe had rebooted, a sky full of god spirit power had been weakened. Han Sen had been able to kill Moment God, but that was not the best Moment God. That was because the universe had been rebooted. Moment God had not yet recovered the god power an annihilation god spirit should have had. The old man in the painting was likely a powerful god spirit from a time before the universe was rebooted. It was unclear why he had not been affected by the reboot. Either way, that was why he had such a scary god power. Even if the old man was the strongest annihilation god spirit, Han Sen did not think he could beat Wanner while she was in that mode. Wanner's eyes looked the same as they always did. It was like she had not heard what the old man in the painting said. She floated like she had not seen the old man in the painting. "The latitude and longitude of the world is just a picture," the old man angrily said. He seemed to have been enraged by her ignorance of him. He moved his cane and sent a miraculous power flying at Wanner. Han Sen had witnessed Xie King use a power that enabled him to draw something and have that thing come to life, but he had never seen anything real become a painting. The old man in the painting emitted a god light. Everything in the temple became a 2D picture. It was like the entire scene became a 2D anime. Everything was very unreal. Wanner, who had a gold fire around her body, was not affected by the power. She still floated as she approached the old man. The power used against her did not seem to affect her in the least. The face of the old man in the painting changed. He was a drawing god. Before the universe was rebooted, he was an annihilation god spirit. Back then, there were more than 12 annihilation god spirits. But he had fallen and joined the god chaos party. In his last fight, he wanted to escape the disastrous rebooting of the universe. He hid inside a drawing that had an incredible god power. That was how he managed to survive. He was not erased by the rebooting of the universe. He also did not want to get trapped inside the painting. A king of the Qin kingdom randomly found the god painting. He accidentally opened the painting. It allowed the painting god to be set free. He thanked the Qin Kingdom's king, but he also wanted a place to stay. The painting god had lost his god temple, so he agreed to guard the Qin Kingdom's Alpha Temple and accept the sacrifices of the kingdom's royalty. The painting god had heard the legends about Qin Xiu and Qin Wan'er. Back then, he was still trapped inside the painting. He had never seen Qin Xiu or Qin Wan'er. He also did not care much about legends like that. Humans use God's spirit blood pulses and gene power. They could not get very strong, but right now, that Wan'er in front of him made him drop a pretense of flippancy and take things deathly seriously. Seeing his painting god power was unable to affect Wan'er, the painting god's god light flashed. He gathered up power on the wooden cane. The wine bottle, which was hanging on the wooden cane, flew up. It poured out an elixir that was like ink. The painting god put the tip of the wooden cane into the liquid. It was like a giant pen splashing ink on Wan'er. The whole world suddenly turned into a painting. Wherever the painting god's cane reached, the space that touched the ink turned into darkness. It was like a piece of paper God had painted black. Whatever had been on the paper before was covered by the ink. It was like it had never existed in the first place. Anything touched by the ink on the cane was enveloped by darkness. The old man waved his wooden cane, turning half of the god temple black. Wan'er was in the half of the temple that had turned black. Now the god temple looked incredibly weird. Half of it was like its usual god temple self, whereas the other half was a 2D world of darkness. Chapter 32:14 Invincible Stance in the Darkness. A gold shadow was quaking. It was becoming brighter too. Within a few seconds, Wan'er was able to walk right out of that dark. She effortlessly strolled out of the painting. No. Impossible. The painting's god face changed. His face was full of shock. Before the universe rebooted, he had been the strongest elite. Even members of the God Chaos Party were afraid of him. Although he did not reach the last step and become a reboot class, he was not like an ordinary Annihilation God Spirit either. After the universe rebooted, Annihilation God Spirits were weakened. Nothing had been able to compete with him. The painting god was still able to fight an Annihilation God Spirit. He wasn't certain whether he would win or lose. Facing a human, his power was not working. That was incomprehensible. He was different from ordinary God Spirits. He did just have God power. After he had fallen, he combined with the God Chaos Party's secret skills, and used a God power to break worlds. Thus he had strong and scary powers. If things were not like that, he would not have dared to say he could fight Annihilation God Spirits. Yet, power like that could not hurt a human woman. How would one tell a man like that to stay calm and not be surprised? Wan'er emerged from the darkness. She looked at the painting god. Her expression was cold. It was like she had no focus. She raised her hand and waved at the painting god. It was like she was slashing around a knife. The painting god's expression changed. He clutched his wooden cane and used ink to block. It was like he was blocking an invisible knife. Ketcha. The gold light flashed in space. The painting god and his cane were slashed in half. The painting on the wall was cut in half too. Qin Jingzhen and the others watched the painting god get killed with ease. His body dissolved in a golden light. They were all too shocked to say a single word. He was very scary and had protected many things for the Qin Kingdom. Now he had been killed with one hit from a woman. It was so shocking that it could not be described. That was especially true about people like Qin Jingzhen, who knew about the painting god. He was even more shocked than the others. The history of the Qin family had many records about the painting god. Back in the day, the Zhao, Wei, and Han kingdoms had reunited to try and siege Jade Wall City. The place was going to fall. The scary old man in the painting had waved his finger, immediately eliminating the generals of the three kingdoms. They simply died out in space. He had saved the Qin kingdom from falling. There was another time when many officers of the Qin kingdom had revolted. They almost managed to kill a very young Qin kingdom king. The queen visited the temple with the young boy and prayed for the Alpha's assistance. The traitors surrounded the Alpha temple. Many of them were elites who could shock the sky. The Qin kingdom was going to change its name. The old man from the painting revealed himself. He waved his cane in the drawing and had a few dozen elites immediately destroyed. It saved the Qin family's bloodline. A god like that was murdered by a woman. How could Qin Jingzhen not be afraid? Leave. Leave the Alpha Temple. Qin Jingzhen could not care for much now. He commanded everyone to abandon the temple. It was no longer about whether or not the Qin kingdom would suffer many big losses. It was all about ensuring their survival. Hansen was running too. The power Wanner used to kill the painting god was not something he could repel. He asked himself to confirm it, and he told himself he couldn't. The Wanners from two universes had combined. The power was so strong that one could not imagine what it was like. Hansen thought that even if God Hall leader fought her, he would not be able to win. The officers and royals outside were unaware of what was happening inside. They saw the priests and servants emerge while protecting a terrible-looking Qin Jingzhen. Open the temples by Sima. Qin Jingzhen was in the middle of a crisis, but he was not in a panic. He gave the order without issue. The area around the Alpha Temple flickered. Many strange beasts revealed themselves. The shadows of those beasts were like dragons, but they weren't dragons. There were 9 of them. The heads and tails of 9 weird beasts connected to create a giant orb of light that bubbled around the Alpha Temple. Catcha! A gold light flashed. It was like a knife used to punish the gods. The shadows of the 9 weird beasts that had composed the shield were gone. The gold light was not stopping there. It continued to attack. Wanner made a big crack in the man-made planet. She went into space and slashed down on Jade Wall City's castle to create a big hole in it. The whole of Jade Wall City shook after the strike. Fortunately, the man-made planet only had officers on it. Ordinary people weren't there. Otherwise, that attack would have killed many people. The scary elites from the palace protected Qin Jingzhen as they escaped the Alpha Temple. Hansen took Bauer with them as they left. He was fairly certain that Wanner did not remember anything. She had become the emotionless blonde lady who was not restricted by anything. Even the super god spirit mode was not restrained. Hansen could not find a way to restrict the blonde Wanner. He flew away, but he did not get far. Hansen looked terrible. Wanner did not go after Qin Jingzhen. He did not know when, but she suddenly appeared behind him. Holy crap! What is this? Hansen was shocked. He could not pretend anymore. No one noticed him do it, but he summoned the Sky God Crown. He used the Sky God Crown to pull Bauer into the God of Wealth Temple with him. The God of Wealth Temple was in the Gold Crystal system. It was many systems away from Jade Wall City. Wanner should not have been able to follow. Hansen had only just entered the God of Wealth Temple when Wanner's body appeared before the God of Wealth Temple. I cannot be that unlucky. Hansen's face turned ashen. Decapitation Queen appeared inside God of Wealth Temple. Clutching her guillotine, she shouted at Wanner. How ignorant! How dare you come to the God of Wealth Temple? Decapitation Queen, stand down. Hansen had a cold sweat. Decapitation Queen was strong, but before Wanner, her power was nothing. Hansen was afraid Wanner would kill her with one hit. Perhaps she would have been struck down so hard that her god base would not recover. It was too late for Hansen to say anything. Wanner moved her hand. It was a simple strike. Seeing the gold fire come before Decapitation Queen, Hansen was too late to save her. Time seemed to have stopped. Even the gold flame on Wanner stopped. At that moment, a body went up and pulled Decapitation Queen back. The gold flame burst into the sky and was extinguished in space. It had enough force to destroy many of the planets around there. Space was suddenly filled with countless lights. Hansen thought it was too close, but Moment God helped. If she hadn't, Decapitation Queen would have been killed. His Super God Spirit mode had a killing God Spirit power. Wanner's reverse Super God Spirit mode might have had a similar thing, so he did not want to risk it. Hansen gnashed his teeth. He took Bauer, who looked like herself again, to teleport away from God of Wealth Temple. Moment God's time power did not affect Wanner much. Although they had been helped, Hansen did not want to fight Wanner. He had to lead her away to avoid her destroying the God Temple. Chapter 32:15 Drawing the disaster to the east. The Super God Spirit mode and Wanner's power were like water and fire. Water could put out fire, and fire could burn water. If there was the same amount, they would put each other out. It was like when Han Sun and Wanner were together, their powers were suppressed. After two Wanners combined into one, her power exploded. She was much better than Han Sun with his super god spirit mode. That was why the scales were now tipped. In a situation like this, they were restricting each other. If one of their powers was stronger than the other, there would have been a big restriction. Now Wanner's power was twice as strong. It made Han Sen's super god spirit mode useless. He was suppressed because of that. Fortunately, Han Sun did not rely on only one power. Although his super god spirit mode was suppressed, he still had 4 other Geno powers. Han Sun did not care about the balance of the universe. He broke the rules of the universe and broke the world. He used galaxy teleportation to take Bauer to the entrance of Soldier Knife Sky. With Wanner's situation being like it was, drawing her there was something of a disaster. It was a disaster that could harm innocent people. He preferred taking her to the God Chaos Party people than having her hurt civilians. Wanner was like a frozen spirit. Han Sun used galaxy teleportation, but he still could not shake her. She steadily followed. Han Sun saw a gold light. He felt a chill. His body was like the tide bobbing along the waves. It was like he was pushed away by the gold light in his attempt to dodge the scary attack. Han Sun was going to use the break world powers to enter Soldier Knife Sky's space tunnel, but Wanner's attack had cut a giant hole in the tunnel. Without hesitation, he went into Soldier Knife Sky. By doing so, he re-entered the mysterious world of weapons. Wanner hurriedly followed Han Sun there. She did not say anything. She just waved her hand at Han Sun's body. She was too fast. When her hand came down, it was like she was already slashing at Han Senator. He did not have time to react. Fortunately, Han Sen's battle power had already reached the reflection level. Before his brain reacted, his body reacted normally and dodged the scary attack. Han Sun felt depressed. He shouted at Wanner. I thought we were friends. It is fine if you do not remember me, but you do not have to keep chasing me. Wanner behaved as if she had not heard a word he said. She slashed her hand again. In that world, there were not many people who could fight Wanner. Han Sen's super god spirit mode was suppressed, but he had a lot of battle experience and power. Wanner was unable to kill him. Han Sen knew this would not turn out well if it kept going. He could only fight or escape, hoping to leave Wanner's range of pursuit. He did not want to kill Wanner, but he did not want to be killed by Wanner either. Ergo, he had no choice but to run. La. Paper kept flipping and flopping inside Bauer's pocket as her book suddenly opened up. From inside, a paper man jumped out and scolded Han Sun by saying, Han Sun, you are an asshole. Didn't you promise me you would not leave Jade Wall City? Is your fucking word nothing but bullshit? You left Jade Wall City and came to the fucking Soldier Knife Sky. It is fine if you come to Soldier Knife Sky, but you brought Master Bauer here. Why don't you shut up for just a minute? Han Sun moved and evaded Wanner's next attack. He said to the paper man Rocky D. I did not want to come here either, but something forced me here. I had no choice. Who made you do this? Rocky D asked that just as Wanner's hand moved. A bottomless trench cleaved through the land, which was full of weapons. Many scary weapons were destroyed. The weapons around the trench did not react. They did not fight back or anything. All they did was tremble as if they were sheep encountering a tiger. Rocky D's face changed as he shouted, what is this? I do not know who it is. I only know she fancies killing me. She has already chased me everywhere, so what do you propose I should have done? Do you have any better ideas? Han Sun spoke as he dodged and flew around. How could there be such a scary human? Rocky D coldly asked. You are a magnet for scary people. I can only suppose you have tremendously bad luck. What am I supposed to do? If you cannot think of a solution to this mess, then I will come up with one myself. Han Sun flew deep into Soldier Knife Sky. Every layer of the 33 days skies was broken. God Chaos Party was massive, but they could not connect all of those spaces. They only made a path that led to each one by one. Han Sun wanted to find a way into the second sky. If he kept ascending, it would only be a matter of time before he encountered more members of God Chaos Party. If there were a few people like Sky King Leader, and they wanted to stop Wanner, perhaps Han Sun could escape. Rocky D could tell what Han Sun was planning to do. He looked extremely glum as he said, "You must have a death wish. If you do not handle this well, you will find yourself the enemy of both. It is fine for you to die, but don't let Master Bauer go down with you." Hansen did not care for anything Rocky D said to him. He kept using galaxy teleportation in Soldier Knife Sky. Every time he teleported, it was not a great distance away. He did not want to miss the path or tunnel that led to the second sky. Rocky D's real body was in the Paper God Temple. He felt depressed. It was hard for him to convince the leader to find someone else to kill Han Senator now. Han Sen was going after them. There was also someone absurdly powerful behind him. Rocky D had experienced a reboot of the universe. He was a god in two worlds, but he had never seen a human this powerful before. Even Qin Xiu was not this scary back in the day. Who is this woman? Rocky D frowned and retreated into thought. He did not care for Hansen's life, but he had to care for Bauer's life. Hansen was trying to bring this problem to God Chaos Party. Its leader was not a character Hansen should provoke. If Hansen did not handle things well, he could end up being attacked by both parties. Then he would die even faster. With the video the paper man sent, Rocky D saw Hansen reach the second sky's entrance. His face changed. He gnashed his teeth and abandoned Paper God Temple. After Weapon God was killed, Soldier Knife Sky was not given a new god to take over the realm. Some members of the God Chaos Party saw Hansen, but they did not have the power to stop him. They watched Hansen race through the gate and enter the second sky. The second sky's scene was different from Soldier Knife Sky. There were no mounds of weapons that were like seas or mountains. After Hansen entered it, water was seen in every direction. It was a pure water world. There was no land or air. That entire world was full of water. The water there seemed a bit weird. It was not just one color. There were all kinds of liquid colors combined into one. It was like a colorful rainbow liquid world. Chapter 32:16 Shadow God Han Sen absorbed the Extreme King Prince's water origin, so he was no stranger to water powers. His movement in the water was not negatively affected. He looked like a fish that had been given water. Wana was not affected by the rainbow liquid either. Like a ghost, she pursued Han Sr. I wonder where the guarding temple of the second sky lies, Hansen thought. In Soldier Knife Sky, Hansen had to pull out the inch gray sword to surprise Weapon God. Otherwise, Soldier Knife Sky was so big that Weapon God would not have known that he and his crew had entered Soldier Knife Sky without doing so. Hansen used galaxy teleportation to keep moving through the water. Even if he was unable to find a god temple, finding the way that would lead to the third sky was fine too. Hansen thought the suppressing god temple of each realm would likely be the exit point. His galaxy teleportation came to an end. Hansen suddenly felt his body get stuck by something. He looked around but did not see a creature. There was still liquid everywhere. He was in a portion of the sea that had purple liquid. Hansen had a closer look and noticed what the problem was. The purple liquid was shaped like a giant whale. He had gotten stuck inside the whale's brain. Perhaps it was because Hansen was there, but the whale-shaped purple liquid started to move. It swung its tail and started to swim. It looked like a real whale even though it was a purple liquid whale. In this water-world sky, all the creatures seemed to be liquid creatures. Hansen now fully understood. The purple liquid whale had just begun to swim when gold light started to shine. The whale's body was cut by the gold light. A lot of purple liquid started to leak out everywhere. Hansen was too late to use galaxy teleportation because he was stuck. He could no longer escape, so he had to draw his inch gray sword. He generated break-world power to stop the gold light. Dong! The gold light struck the inch gray sword. Hansen felt the unstoppable power coming at him. It was like he had been hit by a bullet train. His body was like a spring as he flew away. Fortunately, the inch gray sword was very weird. It did not break because of the gold light. On top of that, Hansen was very good when it came to borrowing the powers of others and using them for himself. With that power flying at him, he took it and made the knockback send him further. Hansen thought, escaping like that is not the most ideal method. If I cannot make Warner focus on the God Chaos Party, I will be unable to escape her. While he was thinking, He saw a weird building come lurching through the depths of the water. It was a crystal-like palace in the midst of the water world. It was not touching the sky or touching the ground. It was just floating in the water. Hansen looked at it. The signboard of the palace had 3 words written on it. Liquid God Temple. The guardian here is not a water god. It's a liquid god. I wonder what the difference between a water god and a liquid god is. Hansen's heart jumped. He rushed toward the liquid god temple and threw a punch at its door. Pang! Hansen's break world power was not an attacking power, but liquid god temple's door, and the small hall beyond was broken. Who broke my god temple? An angry voice sounded from within the god temple. Hansen did not bother looking at who it was. He just used galaxy teleportation to go behind the god temple. Let's allow this liquid god to see Wanner, Hansen said in silent prayer. Perhaps it was because Hansen had not done anything bad recently, but God should have surely realized Hansen was well behaved. He thought there was a fair chance God would enable things to go his way. Liquid God stormed out of the God Temple. He saw Wanner, who was pursuing Hansenator. He thought it was Wanner who had destroyed his temple, so he immediately flung his tentacles toward the lady. Liquid God looked very weird. He kind of looked like an octopus or a jellyfish. His body was transparent like water. He had many tentacles and rainbow-like liquid flowing around him. Upon seeing Liquid God's tentacles go to snare and tie her up, Wanner's body blazed with gold fire. It was like a sharp blade that was going to cut up Liquid God's tentacles. Naive. Liquid cannot be attacked. It is everywhere. No kind of attack can do anything to me. Before Liquid God could say anything else, his body was turned into nothing by the gold fire. There was not even a drop of water left. The shiny God light was still there though. It turned the crystal-like Liquid God Temple into nothing. The entire God Temple was incinerated. Not even a God base remained. Hansen was terrified. His Super God Spirit mode had invincibility. His attacks were always improved with it, but it was nothing compared to what she was able to do. Obviously, Wanner's power was aggressive. It was the opposite of Super God Spirit mode. From now on, aside from the inch-gray sword in Hansen's hand, he did not think there was another item in existence that could shield him from an attack unleashed by Wanner. Bauer had been sitting on Hansen's shoulder the entire time. She pointed forward as she said, "Dad, it looks like there is something at 11 o'clock." Hansen looked where she was pointing and saw a giant swirl manifest in the liquid of the realm. It was like a black hole. It conducted very strong movements in space. Is that the entrance to the third sky? Hansen immediately rushed toward the vortex. Liquid God had just been delivered a nasty strike and killed by Wanner. After that, God Chaos Party was going to have a grudge with Wanner. At this point, Hansen's plan to draw the disaster to the east had halfway succeeded. While Hansen was going to go to the third sky, in God Chaos Party's headquarters, God Chaos Party's core members and leaders opened a screen of light. It panned through Waterworld sky. A God Chaos Party member angrily stated, "Liquid God from the main headquarters is gone. Liquid God Temple is gone. Who dared do this to us?" Another member of the God Chaos Party coldly said, "If I have guessed things correctly, the person has now entered the third sky. Let third sky's Shadow God check the enemy out." "Contact Shadow God," the leader said as he looked across the members before him. The screen of light quickly displayed a circus clown like God Spirit Gene Race. The clown took off its hat and bowed. "My leader, what is it that you require?" "An enemy has invaded 33 days, the leader said. "He will be in the third sky now. Do you want the intruder dead or alive?" Shadow God politely asked with a weird smile. "Who dares stir up disasters in 33 days? God Chaos Party leader coldly asked. "Whoever it is, I will not allow someone like that to exist." "I understand," Shadow God said with a laugh. His eyes looked a bit evil. "Do not worry, leader. By the way, open your spirit light screen," the leader said. "I want to watch you kill the invader." "Okay, leader. Await my performance with bated breath. I will not disappoint you." Shadow God walked out of the God Temple. Chapter 32:17 The Third Sky. The third sky was quite different from the other two skies. If Hansen did not know that it was just one of 33 different skies, he would have believed it was a perfectly normal human world. The third sky had cities, which had all the amenities a city typically possessed. There were streets for vehicles, as well as docks of all shapes and sizes. Most importantly, there were people. There were vast droves of people there. They all exhibited a range of emotions. Many of them were sad, and many of them were happy. Many were at different points of the spectrum in between. It did not matter how one viewed it, but this was indeed a city. By all accounts, it was a bona fide human city. Space trains were going by in the sky. There were aircraft too. Hansen saw a group of students crossing a road. The third sky is quite surprising. Hansen was surprised. He thought the 33 skies were all places only monsters could live in. If there were humans there, they had to be strong. They were fallen humans, so the God Chaos Party had brought them there. The third sky was different from what Hansen was thinking. The people there were just civilians. They did not have strong God spirit blood pulses or gene race powers. This place seems rather peaceful, Hansen thought. It was a thought that made him frown. If they had all been monsters, he would have been happier. They were just normal people. If Wanner's power affected them, Hansen would have felt bad about it. Hansen had only just entered the third sky when he saw that Wanner was already there. Her hands flashed with gold light. Hansen's body reacted faster than his mind, so he was able to dodge the strike. The gold fire crashed down on the ground and created a big trench through the city. Roads broke, buildings collapsed, and the machines that looked like cars fell apart. There were some screams and cries all mixed in together. The weak humans ran everywhere, but most of them were already dead in the dirt. The humans touched by the gold fire immediately dissolved. Blood was everywhere. Hansen didn't see any limbs. The gold fire destroyed every part of everyone it ravaged. Wanner striking the land did not seem to have an end. It was unknown how many houses and lives she had destroyed. Hansen frowned. There was nothing he could do about it now. He only hoped to draw Wanner away to keep her from killing any more civilians. Hansen teleported away. It was a human city. The distance Hansen traveled was no farther than the trench Wanner had created in the metropolitan area. He was ready to teleport again. Hansen briefly looked at the deep trench Wanner had created. There used to be a bridge there, but the other side of the bridge was gone because of her strike. The other half of the bridge was hanging in the air. Below it was a deep, dark, and mysterious trench. At this time, there was a 5 or 6-year-old girl holding onto one of the rebars. She was hanging in the air. It looked like she was going to fall. As she clung for her life, she kept crying out, "Mom! Mom!" Hansen looked at the girl and teleported toward her. He picked up the girl without issue. The girl was picked up by Hansen, but she looked a bit evil. She felt cocky and said, "I thought it was some kind of powerful character coming, but it was just you. Humans are all the same. Without exception, they all think they are heroes. Mr. Leader, watch this. Watch me kill the invader." Shadow God looked like a little girl. Hansen was not prepared, but he was still going to attack. Shadow God suddenly felt Hansen's hands apply force. His body was thrown away with the force of a cannon-fired cannonball. Shadow God had been unable to react. He did not think Hansen would throw him to Wanner like a bomb. By the time he realized this had happened, Wanner was already in front of him. The gold light was coming for him. Shadow God exploded with shadows. He manifested many clown shadows. One could not accurately determine which of the clown shadows was his true self. The shadows, which looked like clones, seemed alive. They were all trying to escape in different directions. Wanner's hand flashed. The gold light cut through the body of a clown. The clown screamed. God, blood spilled out of it like rain. "How did you see where I was?" Shadow God looked at his body, which had been cut in half, and screamed. His head then fell to the ground. It was not just Shadow God who died. Many elites from God Chaos Party's headquarters were frozen stiff. Shadow God was one of God Chaos Party's 8 kings, which included Weapon God and Liquid God. Although he was not a top-class elite, he was a break-world God spirit gene race. He was like an annihilation class main god. After he used the strongest shadow power, he was still destroyed in a single strike. It was something the others found difficult to believe. Who was that woman? Why does she have such a scary power? Since when did the humans have an elite like this? The God Chaos Party and elders could only react in shock. I have never heard of there being humans this strong before. Who is she? What kind of power was that? It did not look like a break-world power. How can someone be that strong with break-world power? She just killed Shadow God. While everyone rambled about what they were seeing, the God Chaos Party leader looked at Wanner with great interest. He frowned and said, I know who she is. Leader, do you know who she is? Many members of the God Chaos Party turned to look at their leader. The God Chaos Party leader coldly said, Issue my command to have all members of the God Chaos Party return here and stop engaging the woman. Leader, who is that woman? Does she have what it takes to make you do that? Everyone was shocked. The God Chaos Party leader laughed and said, You guys should remember that person who came to the Chaos God Hall, right? The young man that sought to make a deal with us. When the people there heard about the man, they looked glum. An elder looked green and said, Are you talking about Qin Xiu, leader? Yes, God Chaos Party leader said with a nod. Does that lady have something to do with Qin Xiu? The elder asked. The God Chaos Party leader's eyes looked deep. He looked at Wanner on the screen and asked, Did you guys forget? The reason Qin Xiu made a trade with us was that he wanted us to revive his sister Qin Wanner. Everyone's body froze. They could not believe what they had just heard. An elder screamed, Impossible. His little sister is dead. She could not be revived. Unless. That is impossible. The God Chaos Party leader coldly said, It is not entirely impossible. Right now, we know Qin Xiu succeeded. He was a truly awesome guy. It was a shame Qin Wanner seemed to have a problem after being revived. Her mind was never correct. Leader, if that is Qin Xiu's little sister, should we capture her? An elder's eyes looked bright. He looked at Qin Wanner on the screen. No. That other guy is Hansun, right? He drew Qin Wanner to have her destroy us. We will do as he wants to. We will let him come here. God Chaos Party leader smiled. It was a weird smile. Chapter 32:18 No one can stop after Shadow God was killed. The city streets, aircraft, humans and everything else was gone. The third sky was suddenly turned into a land of ash. It was now the remnants of a former well-developed human area. Everywhere one looked was now just a land of cracks and streams of lava. One could sometimes see volcanoes exploding far away. The volcanic dust was everywhere. The sky was dark, but there were no clouds. It was the dust that the erupting volcanoes kicked up. The land looked like doomsday had happened. Hansun scanned the area around him until he spotted a god temple. The god temple was made of a mirror. It looked like a maze made of mirrors. The mirror hall displayed a signpost that had 3 words written on it. Shadow God Temple. It belonged to the Shadow God, who had only just been vanquished. Hansen's heart jumped. The Shadow God Temple was still there. It did not matter if Shadow God was revived, but the temple's god base should have still been there. There was an 80% to 90% chance that it was an Annihilation class god base. Hansen's heart jumped. He clenched his fists and went straight for the Shadow God Temple. The Bloodpool Sutra and Xian Yellow Sutra were running at the same time. The 2 scary powers combined to create break-world powers. He threw a punch at the Shadow God Temple. God base, I am coming for you. Hansen's heart exclaimed. Boom. Hansen's break-world power struck the Shadow God Temple. But the Shadow God Temple did not break like he expected it would. He saw a red break-world power strike the Shadow God Temple, which was like a god temple reflecting 1,000 other god temples in the mirage. Hansen realized he had almost hit himself with the break-world power. Fortunately, the reaction time of his body was extraordinarily quick. He managed to avoid his own punch. The Shadow God Temple reflected the break-world power back at Wanner, who was swiftly on her way. Wanner just waved her hand to break it. Ha! Ha! This is so funny. That Hansun is only good at running. He is not good at anything else. An elder laughed. He is not as strong as we thought, but he does drag a lot of baggage and carnage along with him in his wake. He provoked the God Chaos Party and the ire of this scary woman. And now, Now he is trying to bring disaster to the God Chaos Party. This guy should definitely die. You guys should not be so quick to underestimate him, someone else said. He did not break the Shadow God Temple because he does not know anything about the Shadow God Temple. It does not imply he is not strong. From what I can tell, his break world power can rival the 8 Sky Kings. It was an analysis of a different kind. Did you guys forget he was able to take the Gray Inch sword? That means his willpower is mighty. People like that, even if they are weak, can be incredibly scary. We must not underestimate him. While everyone in the God Chaos Party was discussing the ongoing events, Han Sen's eyes were bright. The Shadow God Temple was weird. The building's mirror-like bricks had a reflective power. They were able to reflect break world powers back. I don't know, Shadow God Temple could deflect Wanner's power. If that is possible, I might be able to deal with Wanner. Han Sen flew toward the Shadow God Temple. He did not know what Wanner was thinking, but it was like she recognized Han Senator. She traveled through space and went behind him. She waved her hand behind Han Sen's back. Han Sen was well prepared. Rather, that was the place he had already selected. He deliberately drew Wanner there, so that was where she would attack. The moment Wanner struck, Han Sen's body was already evading. The gold light went right past his cheek and struck the back of Shadow God Temple. The gold fire hit the surface of the mirror-like temple. The mini-mirrors reflected the scary gold light. It made the Shadow God Temple glow like a sun. The god light did not actually get deflected. The mirrors were delivered hefty marks. It wasn't long before they all buckled and broke. Seeing Shadow God Temple was unable to stop Wanner's power, the temple broke. Han Sen didn't say a word. He just drew Inch Gray Sword and slashed at the Shadow God Temple with light. Catcha! Han Sen cut open the Shadow God Temple, which was already in the middle of breaking. The temple shattered. Han Sen cut the God Altar in half. Destroyed Annihilation Class God Temple. Found Annihilation Class God Base. Han Sen saw that the broken God Altar had a God Base. He quickly grabbed it and teleported away. The entire process was so smooth that it was like water. It was clean and quick. It did not drag like mud. It was like he had practiced this a million times. This guy is very obscene. When one of the members of God Chaos Party saw this, he gnashed his teeth. Han Sen was unable to break Shadow God Temple, so he used Wanner to do it for him. While she was doing her thing, he swooped in for the spoils. He took the God Base, which made them very mad. That asshole. Weapon God's God Base must have been stolen by him as well. Humans really are obscene, shameless assholes. Qin Xiu was like that. Han Sen is like that. None of them are good stuff. Leader, let me go and fight. I can kill that asshole. Han Sen did not think poorly of his behavior. He was thinking, I destroyed Shadow God Temple. I did not get the notification for killing Shadow God though. That means Shadow God did not revive inside Shadow God Temple. I wonder if it was just the God Temple being too slow to revive him, or Wanner's power being able to kill God spirits for good. There was no time for Han Sen to dwell on such riddles. Wanner was still close behind, and she was not slowing down. Han Sen used what he had at his disposal. Even still, it was proving insufficient to ditch her. He felt depressed and thought, why is Wanner continuing to chase me? Is it because I am too handsome? Am I too attractive? Otherwise, why would she not go after the Qin family instead? Why does she insist on coming after me? Now that he thought about it some more, Han Sen's heart jumped. It cannot be because of my Super God Spirit mode, can it? My Super God Spirit mode goes against her power. Maybe she is subconsciously wanting to destroy anything that might one day pose a threat to her? Is that why she is so committed to destroying me? The more Han Sen thought about it, the more he thought that was the reason. Otherwise, Wanner would not have kept chasing him without letting him go. Each of the 33 skies was massive, but Han Sen's power was not restricted there. With his galaxy teleportation, he could go anywhere among the 33 skies. The bad thing about it all was that he had no method of teleporting into the different time and space layers. He had to find each entrance to every layer of the place. He had to go up the skies individually by himself, which was costing him a lot of time. Not long later, Han Sen finally managed to find the entrance to the 4th floor. He then found the 5th floor, 6th floor, 7th floor, and so on. Hansen kept on going without anyone coming to stop him. Besides the God Chaos Party's elites or ministers not coming, Hansen did not even encounter the cold shoulder of a shrimp and crab along the way. The rest of the 33 skies were practically empty. Aside from the sky creatures that were native to their special skies, there was not a single soul to be found. It seems as if the God Chaos Party is aware of what I am after. They are not fighting Wanner face to face. Hansen frowned. He was a bit hesitant about whether or not he should keep going. Chapter 32-19 Dust Sky 1 Sky. 1 World. Hansen went through 9 skies without seeing anyone from the God Chaos Party. They've even cleared out 9 entire skies. It looks like God Chaos Party has been really busy these past few years. Hansen kept on rushing. He used this chance to see how many skies God Chaos Party had actually opened. It was not because of God Hall Leader giving him benefits. Hansen just wanted to know how much progress God Chaos Party had made with this endeavor of theirs. If the God Chaos Party had really opened 33 skies, then he could use the final part of the path to access the Geno universe. He would not have to use the God of Wealth Temple to enter the Geno universe for a few meager days. If the Geno universe was broken through by this enemy, it might not bode well for the Geno universe. The Geno universe and universe of kingdoms should have been equal, but they were still 2 separate worlds. The thing about the Geno universe was that it did not have many break-world elites. Hansen had never seen any such people before. Even if their power was as good as a break-world elite, they did not have the capacity to break the world. It was like the Sky Palace leader's existence. No matter the talent or power or level of someone, they were not weaker than the elites of the universe of kingdoms. Yet they still could not break the world. Why the Geno universe's break-world elites found breaking the world so hard was something Hansen had thought about in the past. He thought the universe of kingdoms had so many break-world elites because the God Chaos Party fought the God Spirits. In the end, it made the last God Hall Leader reboot the universe of kingdoms. It made the universe of kingdoms have many flaws in its fabric. With all those flaws, it made breaking the world far easier. The Geno universe was not the main battleground. It was just affected a little as a result. The rules of that universe were not as bad as the rules of the other universe that had been destroyed. So it was hard to break the world in the Geno universe. When Hansen reached the 10th sky, he saw humans again. The 10th sky had many planets around. It was like a mini-universe of kingdoms. Humans were living there peacefully. Hansen noticed many of the humans on many of the different planets were still in a primal age. Some planets were in an interstellar era though. There were lots of giant battleships traveling through space. This cannot be an illusion again, can it? Hansen frowned. With his Dongxian Sutra's sensing power, he felt as if the humans were real and living things. He did not detect them to be illusions like Shadow God had constructed. The humans there were very strange. Even though they did not have a God spirit blood pulse or gene race power, their power was very weak. It was like they were normal humans who did not practice inside the sanctuaries. Hansen's expression quickly changed. He felt his own power weaken incredibly fast. His Dongxian Sutra's aura radius could reach a few systems away, but it was suddenly shrunk to a level that did not even allow him to scan a single planet. It was not just his Dongxian Sutra that had been affected this way. Every power in his body was like that too. The scariest thing about it was how it looked like Wanner was affected as well. Her power had been weakened. He could determine that from her god flames, which had started to weaken. Why are things like that here? Whose power is it? Hansen looked terrible. He turned around and wanted to leave the 10th sky. Even Wanner's reverse super god spirit mode was affected. This power was too scary. When Hansen established a direction to get through the 10th sky, he saw a very powerful and overbearing king-like man standing at the exit of the 10th sky. Hansen looked at him. "This is not a power anyone can have," the man coldly said. "This is the ruling power of Dust Sky. No creature can use its powers here, not even god spirits. If they come here, they will become ordinary creatures that have no powers. Who are you?" Hansen felt as if his body's power had been reduced. At the rate his power was leaving his body, he was going to be reduced to an ordinary man who could not even wrestle a chicken within half an hour. I am God Chaos Party's leader, Berry Path God, the man coldly said. Hansen could have guessed that a bit already. Upon hearing the man say it, he was not surprised. He just kept dodging Wanner's attack while looking at Berry Path God. Hansen could not see any power moving through the man. He looked something like a commoner, but Hansen did not actually believe he was a commoner. Although this place was Dust Sky, the power there could reduce any creature into a commoner. At the same time, it was a nest for the God Chaos Party. This was God Chaos Party's leader. Hansen did not believe he had what it took to fight Dust Sky's power. If he was unable to block the power of Dust Sky, Hansen didn't think he would have shown up there. I must get out of this place before my power is totally ground away by the powers of Dust Sky. Hansen's body flashed. His eyes looked bright. His body suddenly went to Berry Path God. At the same time, he wielded his inch-gray sword and unleashed the biggest attack he could at Berry Path God. Because of Hansen's plan, Wanner's gold light slashed toward Berry Path God too. Hansen thought, even though my and Wanner's power has been reduced a lot, if I only need him to expose his flaws and enable my escape from Dust Sky, it should be fine. After all, Wanner's reverse super god spirit mode has been weakened, but is still very strong. Hansen did not dare underestimate this temporary leader. Although he was only filling in for the real leader, he was still an elite who had challenged the entire god spirit system. Seeing Wanner and Hansen attack at the same time, Berry Path God did not look as if he was going to dodge. He was like an unmoving mountain. The moment the inch-gray sword and gold light were going to hit him, his hand finally moved. Two of his fingers held onto Hansen's inch-gray sword. The other hand held Wanner's hand, which was slashing down. Hansen suddenly felt as if his inch-gray sword had been grabbed by a pincer. He tried his best, but he could not make the inch-gray sword budge an inch. If this was another place, even the leader would not have an easy time fighting you. Berry Path God said as his hands employed some sort of power that blasted Hansen and Wanner backward. But this is Dust Sky. Your power has been turned into dust. You cannot fight me, who is the temporary leader. You should just go and talk to our leader. Hansen knew the situation he was in was very bad. His power had devolved to about 20% or even less. If he did not find a way to escape that realm soon, he might find himself captured by the God Chaos Party. If that were to happen, it wouldn't be a happy ending. Hansen's eyes kept flickering. Black and white power kept spinning weirdly. The Dongxian Sutra was running like crazy. Dust Sky's most basic structure appeared in his eyes. He was not someone who loved to waste time and wallow in regret. Besides, now was not the time for regret. He had to find a way to destroy the Dust Sky power before all of his power was depleted. If he did not do that, he and Wanner would have disaster fall upon them. Because of that hit earlier, Wanner stopped going after Han Senator. Her body flashed with gold light. She went to fight Berry Path God, who had struck her. Chapter 32:20 Berry Path God. It had to be said that reverse super god spirit mode was very strong. Although it was affected by the power in Dusk Sky, it was not like ordinary power that was sapped away quickly. The power was still very destructive. Although it was affected too, the situation was better for her than it was for Han. Senator Berry Path God did not move. His hand blocked Wanner's gold light again and again. The power broke the gold light. Wanner was currently very weak. She probably only had about 30% of her power left. If she was still able to do things to that level, Berry Sky God's power was likely as strong as a reboot god spirit. Hansen thought, is the temporary leader that strong? I wonder how strong the true leader of the God Chaos Party is. It is no wonder why or how he pushed the God Hall leader to reboot the universe. Wanner's God will have not awakened yet. Her battle will keep exploding. She kept attacking Berry Path God, but she was being affected by Dust Sky's power. It made her attack power weaker. Her threat to Berry Path God diminished, becoming less as time went by. It was unknown what Berry Path God was planning. Although Wanner kept on attacking him, he only used the right amount of power every time to shake her off. He did not actually try to harm Wanner. Hansen knew Berry Path God likely had a plan for what to do with Wanner, but now was his chance. He could have used this free time to break the power of Dust Sky and turn the tides of battle. The area of the Dongxian aura had been reduced to cover only a planet, but Hansen managed to push it out 1 inch from within him. His eyes looked at Dusk Sky's structure. He went into it with remarkable details. Hansen had observed the structure of the Geno universe and universe of kingdoms well, and he could tell that the two were quite different from each other. Although the most basic point of their structure was a very small glob of a substance, the Geno universe's ball substance was white. It looked transparent and not very real. The ball substance of the universe of kingdoms was presented as a solid black ball. The two substances of the universes queued up differently. They both had their structural features and elements. The 33 skies were the zones between the two universes. The structures there were very complicated. The basic substances of the 9 skies he had already passed through were all different colors. Even their shapes were very odd. They were not just ball-shaped. The order of the substances was different from the 2 primary universes as well. What was most ridiculous was how every sky's structure and substance were different. It was hard to understand the rules dictating why that was. In Hansen's head, Dust Sky looked very weird as he examined its most basic composition. Dust Sky's basic substance structure was like a ball-shaped Tai Chi. It was half white and half black and half real and half virtual. It was also spinning fast. In the Dongxian aura, Hansen clearly saw that his powers were being absorbed by the Tai Chi-looking symbol. These substances were everywhere. Everything there was made by the most basic Tai Chi substance structure, including the air. The spinning Tai Chi substance was like a vortex or a black hole. It emotionlessly consumed the power Hansen and Wanner had inside them. Even Wanner's reverse super god spirit mode could not deal with the consumption of that power. It was just the consuming speed was a little slower for her. If ordinary powers to the Tai Chi substance were a delicious cake, then Wanner's reverse super god spirit mode was like a bone that was hard to chew. No matter how difficult it was to chew, it was still being consumed by the Tai Chi substance. It made Wanner's power weaker. Hansen tried to use his break world power to block the consuming Tai Chi substance's power, but it did not work. The Tai Chi substance itself was Dust Sky's basic principle. Fighting against the Tai Chi substance was like fighting the whole of Dust Sky. Hansen's break world power was not at a level that was that strong. It meant his power was consumed a lot. It was harder to fight against Dust Sky's rules. Why does Berry Path God's power not get consumed by the laws governing Dust Sky? How has he managed to do such a thing? Hansen looked at Berry Path God and noticed the Tai Chi substance that gathered up around him, but did not consume his power. It was with him peacefully. Berry Path God did not do anything special. He did not use any power to repel the Tai Chi substances. Forever solid. Hansen could not find a method from Berry Path God, so Hansen had to sort it out himself. Forever solid enabled Hansen's body to remain in a solid mode that could not change, but power like that only made his consuming speed slower. It could not stop the power being drawn out of him. That didn't mean that the forever solid power was useless. Forever solid did make Hansen's body fight the rules of Dust Sky's power. Now Hansen was in Dust Sky. Each of his movements led to more of his power being consumed. To fight Dust Sky, the power released would be consumed by the Tai Chi substance. Unless Hansen used no power at all of his power would be consumed. There would be no coming back from that. If Hansen used his power to fight, the power leaving his body would be consumed. He could not figure out a solution to this issue. His situation was similar to Wanner's. Hansen, why do you make yourself an enemy of the God Chaos Party? Berry Path God asked Hansen while continuing to fend off Wanner. It is not like I wanted to be an enemy of the God Chaos Party, but it was you and your God Chaos Party that wanted to kill me. I am just doing what I can to protect myself. Hansen knew that stalling for time was not of much use, but this might have been the only way to break the deadlock. There was less chance of success in fighting Berry Path God. There was less than 10% of his power left. He could not beat Berry Path God. Berry Path God did not deny what Hansen told him, but he did not want to rebut the claim. He only coldly said, "If things are really that way, I will give you a chance to live. If you join the God Chaos Party, we will forgive all ill sentiments and erase our grudge. I have admired your party for a long time, but I do not know if you have the special requirements that would prohibit me from joining, Han Sen replied. It looks like you are not afraid of dying. Berry Path God was not a man who wanted to waste lives, but his interest in Han Sen was not as high as it was thought to be. If he had not seen Han Sen's power, in which he had killed the 8th Sky King, Weapon God, he would probably not have spared more than 2 seconds to talk with Han. Senator Berry Path God used one hand to break Wanner's gold light. His other hand wielded a rainbow. Its light looked like it could pierce the sky. It came right before Han. Senator Bauer frowned. Her hand held the small gourd with an urge to fight, but Han Sen stopped her. Boom. Han Sen's break-world power attacked the shocking rainbow that pierced through the sky and ground. His entire body flew away. He hit a planet like a cannonball had been fired into. Chapter 32:21. Is that it? The leader really is too powerful. Of course, back then, we used all kinds of ways to thrive in Dust Sky, but alas we couldn't. Any creature, or even if a god spirit enters it, they will become commoners. They will not have any more powers to break through the barriers. Only the leader is immune to the Dust Sky suppression. He uses his own power to break Dust Sky. In this universe, only the leader can reach that level. They're just 2 humans. No matter how ridiculous they may seem, the leader can kill them with ease. No matter how many times I see this, the leader is always so shock-inducing to watch. It is hard to believe his might. In the God Chaos Party's headquarters, the God Chaos Party members watched this scene with nothing short of surprise. There were, however, some God Chaos Party members who were stone cold and silent as they watched. Rocky D was one such person. His heart was thumping so hard that it felt like it would breach his chest. It was extremely fortunate that Han Sen stopped Bauer from doing something. He imagined that if she did something particularly eye-catching, it would invoke the interest of Berry Path God. If he was to ever inspect Bauer and become wary of something odd with her, it could certainly be troublesome. Rocky D frowned and thought, damn it, why did I have to come to the 33 skies? This is an absolute death wish. He wanted to find a way to save Bauer. In Dust Sky, even if the whole cast of Reboot God Spirits went there, they would be reduced to commoners. This is a place where the rules of the universe cannot touch. There are only a few people who are not afraid of Dust Sky's power. Berry Path God is one such person, and so is Master Bauer. Han Sen and Qin Wanner's powers are strong, but they have still been restricted by Dust Sky's power. Rocky D kept thinking. No matter what he thought, it did not seem as if he could save Bauer. If this was in another place, perhaps he would have the chance. In Dust Sky, his power had been restricted. Perhaps there were no powers he could use. But how else would he be able to save her? Wanner's power was becoming weaker. Berry Path God unleashed a rainbow to bind her. No matter how much she struggled or fought, she could do nothing to break the binding rainbow light. Ever so strangely and profoundly confusing, the gold light that was on her body, despite appearing like it really was just there, wasn't actually there at all. It was obvious to see that her power had been sapped away. It was incredibly difficult for her to continue fighting in any shape and form. Berry Path God's eyes moved. He looked at Wanner, who was tied up, and said, back in the day your big brother, Qin Xiu, made a big wish. If we helped him break through the walls of the universe, so he could go to the other world and find your reborn body, he would follow through with our deal to break through the 33 skies. We eventually lost contact with him, and he never did return. He never adhered to the terms of the deal. If you are his sister, then it must be down to you to do as he promised. Help us break through the 33 skies. Wanner did not understand what he was blabbing on about, but her confused eyes seemed to be reduced because of her reverse super god spirit mode. Wanner stared at Berry Path Sky and asked, who are you people? What are you talking about? It does not matter who I am, Berry Path God overbearingly said. What matters is that from now on, you are my slave. I can make you do anything, and you have to do as I tell you. I do not know you, so why would I be your slave? Wanner asked. My name is Berry Path God. I will one day be the master of the universe. All the creatures in this universe will be my slaves. You can be my slave now. You should be honored by the offer. Berry Path God did not look as if he was joking around. He sounded as if all of this was normal. Wanner shook her head. I am not going to be your slave. My big brother told me we are free humans. It does not matter if we are challenged by gods or demons, but no one can command our souls or enslave our bodies. Berry Path God laughed and said, Qinxiu really was a crazy man, but I am afraid he cannot protect himself anymore. Otherwise, how could you run out alone like this? You are the person he threw his life away for though. When Wanner heard that, her face changed. Big brother. What happened to big brother? Wanner tried to remember, but she clutched her head and screamed. It was like something inside her head exploded. Berry Path God was able to tell what was happening. He coldly laughed and said, Qinxiu, that kid was never too bad. He entered the other world to take back your soul. After combining with your body, it made the soul in your body and memory come back. What a shame. He did one thing wrong. If a soul gets reborn, it means another complete life form is forced into another body with a spirit. That means there are two souls in one body. In a situation like that, it is impossible for there not to be conflict. Seeing Wanner holding her head and feeling pain, Berry Path God walked next to her. He reached out his hand and pointed his fingers at Wanner's forehead. Do not worry. You will not feel this pain soon. That is because your soul will be killed. I only need this body. This body's unique power is very good for us to break through the 33 skies. I must really thank Qinxiu. If he had not created a monster body like you, I would not know which year or which month I would be able to break through the 33 skies. Berry Path Sky's finger touched Wanner on the forehead. His fingers went inside it. Some blood came out from the wound. Let me go. Otherwise, my brother will never forgive you. Wanner felt pain from the wound. She seemed to be more awake. She gnashed her teeth to try and endure the pain she struggled with. I, Berry Path God, do things without ever requiring the forgiveness of a mere human. Let's not say something like Qinxiu has probably already reincarnated, but even if he is still alive as his old self before me, he is nothing but a minuscule ant that I can kill randomly. Berry Path God looked at her with disdain as he spoke. While they were talking, Berry Path God's fingers went lower. It made Wanner's wound bigger. It was like a bloody third eye was now in the center of her forehead. Is that it? A man with a really deep voice emerged from the dust. Han Sun had not been on the planet long, but he now saw a black shadow slowly approaching. It was the black crystal armor. It was unknown who was wearing it, but it was releasing some weird and black light. The entire universe went dim beneath it. All the while, that figure walked forward. It was like the guy had come from hell. Big brother. Wanner looked at the black crystal armor coming closer. She looked very surprised. When Berry Path God heard her words, his face changed. He looked at the black crystal armor and said, Qinxiu, you are still alive. Chapter 32:22 Only the stronger earn respect. Han Sun had stopped Bauer from attacking, but Berry Path God's power had hit him hard. Although he used power to resist the impact of his fall, he still felt as if his bones were hurting something fierce. Dust Sky's substance chains are so weird, Han Sun said with a look of seriousness. Even Super Spank power is unable to break them. They would only end up absorbed too. There is likely only one option to break one of these substance chains. Dust Sky's Tai Chi substance was like a main and reverse. It was like two powers combined. The power of the Dongxian Sutra's power only came from the Geno universe. It did not really work on the Tai Chi substance. To break Dust Sky's substance chains, he needed the main and reverse powers combined to do so. Blood Pulse Sutra and Xian Yellow Sutra combined together to create a break world power. That was not great for breaking rules, and they only focused on a living creature's power. It would not work on Dusk Sky's rule powers. If Han Sun wanted to break Dusk Sky's substance chains, he had to figure out how to reverse the Dongxian Sutra. That way, he could get a break world power composed of its main and reverse powers. Han Sun had yet to make a reverse version of the Dongxian Sutra. He did not have a gene race that could practice the reverse version. Therefore, he had to risk his own body to force the reversal of the Dongxian Sutra. Fortunately, the Dongxian Sutra still had Geno armaments. Han Sen planned on using the Geno armaments to cast the main Dongxian Sutra. The success rate of reversing the Dongxian Sutra was low if he used his own body for it. It was also dangerous. At this rate, no matter how small the chances of success were, he had no other choice but to try. He did not have time to think about how to reverse the Dongxian Sutra correctly. He roughly used it in reverse. He suddenly felt as if his body was given a jolting shock. It felt as if his entire form was being ripped to shreds. Han Sen was risking his life to cast the reverse version of Dongxian Sutra. That was happening while Berry Path God tried to tear Wanner's soul out through her skull. While Wanner was enduring her pain, Han Sen felt his sea of soul rattle with a raging message. The raging message was strong, but it was different to the feelings given from the black crystal armor. The black crystal armor never really did much, and it never really reacted to things. There were some odd instances it did. Whenever that happened, it was usually mild. Han Sen had never felt it rage like this before. Han Sen had used the black crystal armor to evolve the Xian Holy Turtle. Now the black crystal armor's power had suddenly reversed. It no longer provided energy to the Xian Holy Turtle for the purposes of evolving it. Instead, it madly absorbed the Xian Holy Turtle's energy. Suddenly, the Xian Holy Turtle was sucked dry by the black crystal armor. It turned into dust and vanished. The black crystal armor revealed itself, eliciting the feelings of a demon god. This kind of feeling was different to the black crystal armor Han Sen was familiar with. This feeling was strange and gave him a sense of familiarity. This familiar feeling is World King God. Han Sen quickly understood this familiar feeling and where it came from. Within that feeling, there was the sense that it was very similar to the World King God. But it wasn't the same. Does this mean the black crystal armor has Qin Xiu's will? Han Sen's face changed. He did not think the black crystal armor belonged to Qin Xiu anyway. The black crystal armor's style was a lot more feminine. Han Sen used to feel the presence when it was activated. That presence was calm and soft, so it felt like a woman's presence. It was completely different to the overbearing feeling given by Qin Xiu. Han Sen could only guess that Qin Xiu's will or soul had, for some reason, entered the black crystal armor. The black crystal armor emerged from Han Sen's sea of soul. It had the presence of a demon. It turned and looked at Han Sen coldly saying, "It looks like when I am sleeping, you are the one who owns it." Han Sen's body ran the Dongxian Sutra in reverse. He could not spare time talking to him. The black crystal armor was clearly not interested in talking about it with Han Sen either. He only said that and vanished. Is that it? Berry Path God was taking Wanner's soul away. He suddenly felt something scary coming. When he heard the voice, his face changed. Berry Path Sky stared at the black crystal armor and coldly said, "Qin Xiu, you are still alive." "Big brother." Wanner shouted in surprise. "No, Wanner, it's okay now. Your big brother is here now." Qin Xiu's voice was so soft. Although it was a set of armor that did not have any emotion, it felt like it could make people feel its softness. When Qin Xiu looked at Berry Path God, his voice sounded incredibly cold as he said, "Berry Path God, get your dirty hands off her." Berry Path God looked at him with disdain. He said, "Qin Xiu, it looks like you have been away from the universe of kingdoms for too long. You seem to have forgotten who the owner is here. For as long as I, Qin Xiu, live, there is only one boss," Qin Xiu coldly said. "You are still so ignorant, but being ignorant is very funny to see. It is good that you did not die. According to the terms of our contract, I helped you enter the other world. In return, you said you would have to break the 33 skies for me." Berry Path Sky grabbed Wanner's head and said, "Now it is time for you and your sister to pay the price." "I always stay true to my word," Qin Xiu said. "When I said I was going to help you break through the 3 skies, of course, I was going to hold up my end of the bargain. It is good that you are going to do what we agreed upon." Berry Path God coldly looked at Qin Xiu. Qin Xiu looked at Berry Path God and coldly said, "Of course I will, but our deal is not yet done. You dared to hurt Wanner. What are we going to do about it?" I am the best in the 33 skies. So what if I hurt her? Berry Path God spoke with gross disdain. So what? Qin Xiu laughed. He reached out his hand and performed a gesture in which he flipped his hand over. Suddenly, Berry Path God, who was grabbing Wanner, looked as if he had been crushed by a mountain. He was sinking and falling into space. His body fell onto a planet. The ground broke beneath his feet. Berry Path God was half kneeling on the ground. He looked absolutely terrible. He made a sky-shocking, angry roar. A shocking rainbow exploded like a volcanic eruption. It was like the whole world was going to go down with him. No matter how frightening his body was, he could not lift up the weight that made him kneel. He gnashed his teeth and made loud noises, but he could not raise his head at all. The God Chaos Party headquarters were absolutely silent. They knew how powerful Berry Path God was. He was someone scary who had survived a rebooting of a universe. Now, Qin Xiu had only flipped his hand to suppress their leader. He was unable to lift his legs. How scary was that? Is he really Qin Xiu? He did not used to be that scary. An elder who had also survived the rebooting looked shocked. No one answered him. The God Chaos Party was dead silent. Big brother. Wanner leaped into Qin Xiu's arms. Her body was so weak that she was almost unable to float through space. Qin Xiu held onto Wanner and stroked her hair. Wanner, I am here. You do not have to be afraid. No one will be able to hurt you anymore. You should go to sleep. When you wake up, everything will be fine. After that, Qin Xiu's hands brushed by Wanner's eyes to close them. She looked relaxed as she went to sleep without any more worries. Qin Xiu was holding Wanner, who was now fast asleep. He looked at Berry Path God and coldly said, "The God Chaos Party has elites as leaders. From now on, I, Qin Xiu, will be the leader of the God Chaos Party. Berry Path God, do you obey your new master? You do not have what it takes." Berry Path God's body looked as if his sleeping willpower had awoken. A scary power exploded. Chapter 32-23 An accident. Berry Path God's power was incredibly strong. The whole of Dusk God shook under the duress of his power. It felt like that power could bury the entire sky, ground, and space around. No matter how strong his power was, he could not keep his knees away from the ground. Qin Xiu held Wanner and went down to Berry Path God. Every step he took made the suppression power applied to Berry Path God seem even heavier. Patong. Berry Path God's second leg could not withstand the pressure. He was forced into a kneeling position. The crack below his legs spread. Berry Path God was so angry, but no matter how much he madly roared, he could not stand up. Under the pressure, his hands eventually dropped to the ground as well. His entire body was suppressed, so he could do nothing to straighten himself out. Berry Path God still supported his head. He was not going to let that bend. The God Chaos Party headquarters was full of scary creatures who were now exhibiting shock. Ever since the universe had rebooted, they had never seen anyone be able to do this to Berry Path God. Even before the universe rebooted, there were only two people that could do that to Berry Path God. One was the previous God Hall leader, the leader who ruled the universe. The other was the prior leader of the God Chaos Party. He was the one who was very accomplished. Aside from these two, no one could suppress Berry Path God like that. In this era, no one was able to suppress Berry Path God like that. Yet this supposedly impossible scene was appearing in the vision of all those scary creatures. They were all shocked and afraid. A scary creature who had also survived the reboot asked in shock, "How did Qin Xiu become so strong? He is as strong as the old leader now." Of the creatures that lived in that era, they all now thought the same thing. They felt as if they were witnessing the old leader's powers. Qin Xiu walked up to Berry Path God. He stood there, but it did not look as if he was going to do anything. Still, Berry Path God could only see as far as Qin Xiu's feet. He could not lift his head to look upon him. No matter how angry he was or how much he felt he had been wronged, in front of that power of absolute suppression, he could only lower his head so far that it almost touched the ground. Ah! Berry Path God roared with sadness. He wanted to kill himself. He would have rather died than kneel before Qin Xiu. There was some invisible power on his body that was suppressing him. It made him unable to destroy himself. His head touched the ground. It humiliated the scary creatures of the God Chaos Party. Even when the old leader was there, no one had humiliated Berry Path God like that before. After all, he was God Chaos Party's temporary leader. He had never been humiliated like this before. Do you obey me or not? Qin Xiu looked at Berry Path God from a high place. He looked at him as if he was looking at a small ant. Qin Xiu, you do not have what it takes to talk to me like this. Kill me if you have the guts to. Berry Path God's body was on the ground. He was not scared. Qin Xiu lifted his lips to display a smile. He looked at Wanner, who was now fast asleep, and said, dying does not come so easily. If you offend me, I will kill you. You wanted to take Wanner's body for yourself. How can I let you die easily? Obey me or kneel here forever as an apology to Wanner. I leave the decision to you. The creatures of the God Chaos Party were shocked. Qin Xiu wanted Berry Path God to be buried there forever, so that he could never do anything. What kind of humiliation was that? To Berry Path God, that was worse than reincarnation. Berry Path God's teeth started to chatter. He was very angry. He wanted to kill Qin Xiu, but he could not even die. There was no way he could kill Qin Xiu. It looks like you have chosen to kneel here forever, Qin Xiu coldly said. He picked up Wanner and turned around to leave. Berry Path God is greeting Mr. Leader. Berry Path God suddenly roared. His voice was filled with an endless amount of anger and sadness. Very good. I love the emotion you put into that. It is like music to my ears. Say it a few more times for me. Qin Xiu looked back at Berry Path God. He then turned around to leave again. The pressure on Berry Path God did not go away. He was still kneeling on the ground, screaming in a way that sounded loud enough to tear up his lungs. He shouted, Berry Path God is greeting Mr. Leader. Berry Path God is greeting Mr. Leader. Qin Xiu ignored Berry Path God. A few steps later, he went to Han Sun, whose body was still running the main and the reverse versions of the Dongxian Sutra. He was unable to combine them. Is that as far as you can go after having the super gene for so long, and receiving her help? Qin Xiu looked at Han Sun coldly as he spoke. If you did not use the super gene power, I could not have beaten her will. To completely control the super gene, you must work hard too. Why don't you just come with me? In the future, you will have a seat on the throne of this universe. Sorry, but I am not interested in following monsters. Han Sun held on to the pain of the two powers that thrashed around inside him. He tried to speak calmly. Qin Xiu looked at Han Sun with interest. Your body has my genes as well as that of World King God, but it is so weak. If I have guessed things correctly, you are the product of that accident. What product and what accident? Han Sun coldly asked. Qin Xiu replied. After coming to the Geno universe, I and World King God were restricted by the rules of the Geno universe. We had to separate to reduce the suppression of the Geno universe's rules. We tried many other different ways to reduce the suppression, while also finding a way to break into the Geno Hall to revive Wanner. Ergo, we conducted many tests. One of the tests was for me to give my body to World King God. That way, I could take on a pure God spirit mode, so I could find a new body in which I could use for my tenure in the Geno universe. World King God had my body and made a ballsy test. He wanted to use his genes in the Geno universe and gene technology to make a body that the universe was able to accept. It was a shame that his test did not pan out right. Sacred was attacked by the God spirits. World King God did not combine with my body completely, and my spirit had only just entered the super gene. It restricted his will, so it was hard to join the fight. It resulted in Sacred being broken, and all the tests failing. Qin Xiu paused and went on to say, it looks like most of the genes in your body come from the crystallizers. I am willing to guess the crystallizer's assistant, in the tests, stole some of World King God's genes for a test. He then used it on his own genes. That is why you, the accidental life, came to be. Han Sun heard Qin Xiu's words. He now understood where humans from the sanctuaries came from. It was all an accident. He was not the creation of Qin Xiu or World King God. So, is the alpha of the humans in the sanctuaries a crystallizer? Han Sun asked. You could put it that way, but you have the genes of me and World King God inside you too. You are still, in some way, my heir and inheritor. Following your alpha is not something embarrassing. Qin Xiu looked at Han Sen and went on to say, plus your situation is a bad one. If I do not save you, I am afraid your body is not going to be able to hold the abuse of the main and reverse powers. Chapter 32:24 Taking a risk. Han Sen had already been tempted to do that. After hearing Qin Xiu's last words, it made him completely give up his fleeting thoughts of actually conceding. This was what Han Sen's personality was like. If things went his way, he was a pleasant person to talk to. Qin Xiu's last words were very threatening, so it made him stop wanting to concede. Sorry, I already told you I don't follow monsters, Han Sen said. By the way, that includes you. That's fine. You will follow me sooner or later. First, you must live for that day. After Qin Xiu said that, he turned around and left. Berry Path God, come and guide me around the God Chaos Party. Show me what it's like these days. Qin Xiu's voice went into Berry Path God's ears. Berry Path God had his freedom again. Yes. Berry Path God's emotions had calmed down completely by now. It was unknown what was going through his mind. He stood up without emotion, followed Qin Xiu, and departed. The black crystal armor left me after all. Han Sen's face looked weird as he spoke. The crystal armor had been with him since it was a crystal, and it had helped him out of many jams. Without the black crystal armor, it was like Han Sen would not have come as far as he had. Unfortunately, anything in life could leave, so Han Sen did not think too much about it. Even still, Han Sen did not plan on leaving the black crystal armor just like that. That black crystal armor never belonged to me, but it never belonged to you either, Qin Xiu. You are powerful now, so you can take it away. One day, I am going to take it back. Han Sen was calm. He stopped thinking about the black crystal armor and all the matters pertaining to Qin Xiu. His body was just like how Qin Xiu said it was. It was not in a good state. He brutally reversed the Dongxian Sutra. That alone dealt a lot of damage to Han Senator. The so-called reversal was not just about running it in reverse. It was like the Blood Pulse Sutra and the Xian Yellow Sutra. The two of them had differences. They both had their bases, so it was not just a simple case of reversing the opposite to go. Han Sen had brutally reversed it by mistake. It was because he had been forced to. That was why Han Sen did it. The reverse Dongxian Sutra had already damaged him a lot. Now the power of the Dongxian Sutra was combined with it. It did not combine, and it had a conflict. It made Han Sen's body endure significant damage. The two of the powers were no longer in Han Sen's control. It was like there was a raging flood that had come about in the breaking of a dam. It was everywhere in his body. The worst thing about it was that he had been suppressed by Dust Sky. That meant Han Sen's power had decreased, but the power he had lost had not been decreased. Han Sen could not control this situation. That was why Qin Xiu had told him that if he had not saved Han Sen, he would have died. There was one thing Han Sen knew for sure. There was another type of willpower inside the black crystal armor. It was the her Qin Xiu had referenced. In the past, it was her will to control the black crystal armor. Qin Xiu should not have been able to know what was going on at that time. Otherwise, Qin Xiu would have known that Han Sen had taken care of Wanner for quite some time. With his connection to Wanner, he would not allow Han Sen to die. Han Sen knew if he said things like that, there was an 80% to 90% chance that Qin Xiu would have saved his life. It was a shame that Han Sen was not that type of person. He knew what things were like, but he would never ask for help. Han Sen held on to the pain his body was suffering, trying to put the two powers back on the right track. His power was too weak. All of the power in his body was going to the lowest point. He could not deal with the two powers that had lost their control. Controlling two powers seems impossible. If I use my leftover powers to make a bet, maybe I can separate these two powers. As long as they do not collide with each other, perhaps there is something I can do to soothe things. Han Sen was not someone who gave up easily. He was trying to find a way to fix these difficulties he was having. Han Sen quickly realized that way did not work. Two powers were all over his body. Even if Han Sen used his leftover power to attack, He could not separate those two powers. If there is no going back, I will have no choice but to push on through to the worst possible point and start all over again. Han Sen was angry. He used the last of his power to do a final push. The two powers were running. Han Sen did not know what would happen, but he knew that those two powers were not going to stop. The Dongxian Sutra's power was scarier than Han Sen had imagined. The primary Dongxian Sutra power was familiar to him with its most basic rules, and the reverse Dongxian Sutra created a completely different power. Because he could not control it, Han Sen still did not know what kind of power it had. Looking at it based on the damage done to his body, it was evidently far scarier than the ordinary Dongxian Sutra. Bauer looked at Han Sen with immense worry. She sensed that Han Sen's situation was not a favorable one. She did not dare disturb him. She did not want to distract him from the issues he wrestled with. Han Sen used the last ounce of his power to collect himself. The powers of the Blood Pulse Sutra, Xian Yellow Sutra, Jade Skin, and the Story of Genes were used. Although they were badly weakened, this had already come to pass. He used as much as he could, fighting it in a life-or-death moment. Suddenly, a weird mark appeared on Han Sen's body. It was spell. She wanted to combine with him. It combined with him through the armor mode. Han Sen's face, which looked very sharp, appeared softer after combining with spell. His hair and eyes turned white. His pupils and skin were put under some kind of spell. He did not know if he was mistaken, but Han Sen felt as if Dusk Sky's power was now having less of an effect on him. Xenogenic mode. Han Sen gnashed his teeth and entered Xenogenic mode. This was a mode in which 4 Geno arts could combine into one. Aside from his Super God Spirit mode, that was Han Sen's strongest form. Because the Xian Yellow Sutra had appeared, he had already made his 4 Geno arts unbalanced. Now because of the Dongxian Sutra's loss of balance, the two main and reverse powers collided together. He did not know what that meant for him in Xenogenic mode. At this point, Han Sen could not worry too much about it. He had to use every power he had to give it a shot. When Han Sen's body totally entered Xenogenic mode, he felt his body's power explode. It was like the pulses of his body were all exploding. It was like his body had a fireworks party going on inside him. Even with Han Sen's tough will, he could not help but shout. He had to express how much pain he was in. Perhaps it was because Han Sen's threshold of endurance had reached the max it could go, but his body reacted. He entered Super God Spirit mode, but the pain did not go away because of it. It made him hurt even more. Han Sen was under Super God Spirit mode now. He had a body of white light. He suddenly heard a crack. He had never experienced something like this in Super God Spirit mode before. Chapter 32-25 3-Year Promise. The Super God Spirit mode was invincible. It had never broken like this before. Although Han Sen was shocked, he had no choice but to keep on going. It felt like his body was being ripped apart. It was hard to accept. It would have made ordinary people feel as if they wanted to commit suicide. Han Sen's willpower was too strong. Even if his body was thrown into a vat of burning oil, he would not have wanted to die. His will to survive was very strong. No matter how strong his will was, the pain was still excruciating to endure. Han Sen's face was a twisted expression of that pain he was enduring through. The pain he felt came from the main and reverse Dongxian Sutra. He was able to control the other powers inside him. It was only this raging main and reverse Dongxian Sutra power Han Sen was unable to control. His other powers were affected by the restrictions imposed by the realm of Dusk Sky and were weak. Even his Super God Spirit mode had been weakened a lot. When combined, the power of the main and reverse Dongxian Sutra did not seem to be restrained by the Dusk Sky's powers of restraint. It almost seemed as if they were becoming stronger. It is just as I thought. The main and reverse Dongxian Sutra can indeed restrain the powers of Dusk Sky. But this power is a little much. Even I am unable to fend it off. Even the Super God Spirit mode, which is Xenogenic, is being broken by it. Han Sen knew the only thing he could do was hold on and stay strong. The two reverse powers started to combine. If his body could completely combine two powers, it meant he would be able to live. If he was unable to hold it at bay, his body would be destroyed by the main and reverse versions of the Dongxian Sutra power. If this was an ordinary time, Hansen would have managed to stay alive. Because of the dusk sky weakening his other powers, he was not sure if he could hold on until it was over. Many cracks were forming on his burning white body. They made him look like a beautiful porcelain vase that had been shattered but taped back together. The cracks were very shocking. The main and reverse versions of Dongxian Sutra were coming to a very critical moment. They were quickly melting and becoming stronger. In a situation like this, the damage to one's body was only going to become worse. Hansen felt as if his body was no longer going to be able to endure things. The power the main and reverse Dongxian Sutra created was far scarier than he believed it to be. Hansen gnashed his teeth to hold strong against it, but his body was like a porcelain statue that could break at any given second. He did not know when it was going to crack. Bauer saw the crisis Hansen was in. She took out the little gold gourd and placed it atop Hansen's head. The gourd's gold light descended like a river of gold spring water to cleanse him. It moisturized his skin and made his bones, organs and flesh better. His body, which was going to explode, was improved by that power. Needless to say, Hansen felt much better. His cells felt as if they had been glued back to a much better state, and were all much tougher. Bauer. Hansen was shocked and happy at the same time. In the God Chaos Party headquarters, Qin Xiu sat atop Berry Path God's throne. Berry Path God had his hands lowered. He emotionlessly looked like a statue. Another God Chaos Party member looked at Qin Xiu strangely. While the God Chaos Party only obeyed elites, it did not mean any old creature could claim and sit upon the prior leader's throne. Any creature there was an elite in some capacity. They all had personalities. If it was about being more powerful than the other to get opponents to obey, it wasn't so easy. But Qin Xiu's power was so strong that it made them a little bit scared. Although they did not like it, no one dared say anything to object. Qin Xiu had flipped his hands and suppressed Berry Path God. He had very simply forced Berry Path God to obey. Although they did not agree with this turn of events, they had no choice but to suck it up. Qin Xiu looked down at the scary creatures and coldly said, "When I left the 33 skies, 11 skies were broken. It has been 1 billion years, and you guys have only made it to the 19th sky. At this rate, which year or month will we finally be able to breach the 33rd sky?" "The 33 skies are not so easily broken," a grumpy God Chaos Party elder said. "Every sky has a special function, and we will have different difficulties in each place. Every sky we break costs a lot of resources and power. You have no idea how much we have given up." Many scary creatures looked at Qin Xiu, wanting to see what he would do to that elder. If he used force to join God Chaos Party, he would not let a person who had objected in such a way off the hook so easily. 3 years. Surprisingly, Qin Xiu was no longer angry. He calmly spat out those 2 words. "What does that mean?" the elder asked with his eyebrows raised. "If I become the leader of the God Chaos Party, I will only need 3 years to break the 33 skies." Qin Xiu coldly said. "Do you really only need 3 years to break the remaining 14 skies left out of the 33 skies?" the elder asked with a curl of his lips. "I admit you have strong power, and you are almost as great as our leader, but you surely cannot believe the 33 skies will be broken through sheer force." "Force will not work, but I can do it," Qin Xiu's voice said quietly. He looked very confident. "If within 3 years I have failed to break through the 33 skies, I will return this leadership seat. Then I, Qin Xiu, will never again set foot in any of the 33 skies." "Fine," the elder said with a cold laugh. "This is your decision. We did not force you to do this. Just don't break your own promise." "I, Qin Xiu, never break promises I have made," Qin Xiu said. "If anyone tries to trouble me within these 3 years, no matter who they are in this party, I will destroy their bodies and temples." He sounded vicious. "We will wait 3 years," a few elders said after looking at each other and nodding. "Where is the warehouse of the party?" Qin Xiu asked after standing up. "Take me there." Berry Path God, who still looked devoid of emotion, said, "The information of this party is taken care of by Minister 5. I will ask Minister 5 to take you to the warehouse." Minister 5 hurried to lead Qin Xiu out of there. All the scary creatures rapidly spoke to Berry Path God. Leader, are you really going to let Qin Xiu take over God Chaos Party? With all of our power combined, we might stand a chance. Berry Path God shook his head coldly. You guys do not need to rush this. Qin Xiu is strong, but he is only one human. He must have a flaw. We will do something when we find out what that flaw is. Berry Path God walked in front of a scary creature and passed him something. He used a tone of voice only Hate Ghost could hear and said, "Take this item to Dust Sky. You will have 1 hour of no pressure from Dust Sky. Kill Han Sun and do not be discovered." Mr. Leader, what is the point of us killing Han Sun now? Hate Ghost asked. Just do as you are told, Berry Path God said. He looked a bit weird. I have my reasons. Chapter 32:26 Dongxian Break World. Han Sun's body had just received the Gold Little Gourd's Gold Light Moisturization. It made the main and reverse Dongxian Sutra's power increase, but it did not rip up his body. The two powers slowly melded together, making things start to become calm again. Suddenly there was a flash. A weird person, who looked like a lizard, appeared in front of Han Senator. His red eyes were not looking at Han Senator, they were looking at Han Sen's inch gray sword. His face was full of greed. The inch gray sword was the sword that belonged to the old leader of God Chaos Party. It had a special and scary power. It was in Soldier Knife Sky, because no creature was ever able to remove it. Han Sen had somehow managed to pull it out. Hate Ghost really wanted the inch gray sword for himself. Berry Path God said I should kill Han Sun, but he did not say anything about the inch gray sword. If I take this inch gray sword and hide it, even if he asks, I will just say I never saw it. This was the brilliant idea Hate Ghost came up with. He was going to take and keep the inch gray sword for himself. Hate Ghost flashed and went in front of Han Sun to examine the man. Han Sun had been stuck in Dust Sky for a long time. He should have been reduced to a commoner, but Hate Ghost still looked at Han Sun carefully. He was not going to underestimate him. It did not take long for Hate Ghost to confirm that Han Sun's body was no different than the average, powerless person. It made him feel a bit more relaxed. It is pointless no matter how hard you try. The powers of Dust Sky cannot be overcome by force. Even if God spirits come here, they would be reduced to the status of a commoner. After saying that, Hate Ghost reached his hand out toward Han Sen's inch gray sword. He wanted to get the inch gray sword first. Before he could grab the inch gray sword, a small hand grabbed the inch gray sword. Hate Ghost turned around and saw a little girl next to Han Sun was holding the inch gray sword. Her big eyes were staring at him. Give me the sword, Hate Ghost said to Bauer with a cold look. Why would I give it to you? Bauer asked with the curl of her lips. This is my father's sword. I told you to give it to me, Hate Ghost said. Stop talking crap or I will break your head. He raised his talons. He was not a very patient person. Bauer clutched the sword and retreated. She blinked as she said, If you dare touch me, my father will blow your head off. Let me see if it is my head that blows up first or if it is your head that breaks first. Hate Ghost's hands moved to catch Bauer's head and the inch gray sword. Before he could take it, he saw a shadow flash in front of him. A shadow wearing black armor had come before Bauer to block the attack. Han Sun had just been sitting there earlier. Hate Ghost was shocked, so he fell back a little. Han Sun was able to kill Weapon God, and Weapon God's power was as strong as Hate Ghost's. How could Hate Ghost not be scared of him? After Hate Ghost thought it over, this was Dust Sky. Han Sun's power was already suppressed by Dust Sky. Even if he did have some power, there would not be much of it left to be effective. He would be unable to defeat him. If you would rather die first, I will be happy to fulfill your wish. Hate Ghost's eyes turned red. Black smoke arose on his body that looked like fire. He tried grabbing Han Sr. Bauer, keep your gourd safe. Han Sun returned the little gold gourd to Bauer. Without the nutrition of the little gold gourd replenishing his body, Han Sun would have likely been unable to get through this crisis. It had been his deliverance. Now the little gourd was looking smaller than usual. It had used a lot of power. After returning the little gold gourd to Bauer, Hate Ghost was in front of Han Senator. The scary black smoke was so strong that it made Hate Ghost look like a demon from hell. Without speaking, Han Sen gathered up the main and reverse Dongxian Sutra power. Those two powers combined in his hands. They made Han Sen's hands, which were wrapped up by the black Dongxian armor, look even darker. It was like he was able to absorb light. People were unable to see the hands clearly. They were something of a blur to them. Dongxian Sutra's power enabled Han Sen to see the original rules of the universe. The reverse Dongxian Sutra was another extreme thing that enabled Han Sen to get to grips with rule simulation powers. Before this, Han Sen required his super spank skill to break substance chains, but the reverse Dongxian Sutra did not require him to go to so much trouble. That was because he was able to simulate rules to control the rules. It made the power of rules adhere to him. There was no longer a point in spending power to break substance chains. When the powers of the main and the reverse Dongxian Sutra were put together, it led to the creation of further changes. The two powers created break world powers. It was not only the rules that broke the universe that changed. If he had to use a word to describe the break world powers of the Dongxian Sutra, it would have been modify. He was able to modify the basic rules of the universe. That power was something not even a god could harness. In fact, gods were the creatures that maintained the most rules, but god spirits were better at using the rules. They just did not have the power needed to change the rules. The Dongxian Sutra's break world power enabled him to change the universe's rules. This power, in some way, was stronger than destroying the universal rules. Han Sen flicked his finger like he was flicking a wire on an invisible harp. Of course, no music played. Hate Ghost did not understand what the gesture meant. He did not know what the point of him flicking his finger was. Now, given his current situation, Han Sen could not block his attacks. In the next second, Hate Ghost's face changed. He felt as if his body had become very weird. It was like his body was bound by some kind of power. His claws were unable to be moved forward. It was like there was an invisible wall prohibiting him from moving forward. Hate Ghost retreated. He felt as if he was fine, so he tried to change his location. He jumped on Han Sen's head and tried to grab his brain. Han Sen stood there without moving. His fingers flicked as if he was still playing a harp. For other people seeing this, they would have assumed it was meaningless. Only Han Sen understood that he was using his finger to flick Dust Sky's Tai Chi substance. He was changing the rules. The Tai Chi substance combined to create a universal cogwheel. The cogwheel combined and made a substance chain. Now Han Sen was messing up the Tai Chi substance order. The size of the universal cogwheel changed. Therefore, the substance chain changed too. Han Sen had modified Dust Sky's rules. This modification would not break Dust Sky's rules, or change the order of things. It did make Dust Sky's rules undergo big changes. Arg! Hate Ghost suddenly screamed. He sounded as if his entire body had been sucked of its water and hastily dried up. A few seconds later, he was nothing more than a skeletal, dried-up corpse. No. Impossible. I have the Avoid Dust Orb. Dust Sky powers should not work on me. Even if it did work, it would not do this to me. Scary. Hate Ghost did not finish speaking before he turned into dust. His life force and power were taken by the Tai Chi substance, turning him to dust. Chapter 32-27 Back to Space Garden. Hunted Annihilation God Spirit Gene Race Hate Ghost. It was just a simple announcement that played in which nothing got left behind. Even Hate Ghost's dust was absorbed by the Tai Chi substance. The kill was so clean that not a single speck of him remained. An orb fell down. It was the size of a dragon ball. It did not have any dust on it. It looked like a pearl. The Dongxian Sutra's break world power is so scary. Han Sen reached his hands out to grab the orb. His face displayed a mixture of expressions. He had to admit he was shocked. He had only changed the rules around Hate Ghost to let the universal cogwheels spin at a much faster pace. That was what produced that terrifying effect. It just killed an Annihilation God Spirit Gene Race. It was very scary. Fortunately, Han Sen's break world power had just been formed. Its effectiveness was not particularly long. It could only go on for 2 seconds. The Tai Chi substance that had been modified went back to what it was before. It was already quite impressive. Han Sen had only made a few simple changes to alter the size of the cogwheels. He had not manipulated the running speed of the entire sequence of substance chains. Yet he had managed to do something that terrifying. That was just a simple change. If he did a complicated change, he had no clue what might happen. Han Sen was now entering uncharted waters with the Dongxian Sutra. There was nothing more to learn with it. He was now on his own for every step he took. Regarding what the effect of changing the universal cogwheels could mean, Han Sen would have to find out all of that by himself. Han Sen thought, how does one reach the end of the break world path? Which path did Qin Xiu traverse? The black crystal armor's power is very mysterious. Even the story of genes was created through the help of the black crystal armor. If Qin Xiu is able to control the black crystal armor, there is no way for me to accurately gauge his strength. Dad, this orb looks pretty. Can I have it? Bauer looked at Han Sen, who was holding the avoid dust orb in his hand. Han Sen held the avoid dust orb. He felt Dust Sky's Tai Chi substance avoid it. He now knew what that orb did. His Dongxian Sutra's break world attempt had succeeded. Dust Sky's rules had no bearing on him now. Therefore, holding on to the orb was pointless for him to do. Of course you can. If you want it, and as long as it does not bring harm to anyone, I will give it to you. Han Sen gave the avoid dust orb to Bauer and patted her on the head. Without the help of Bauer's little gourd, there was a 90% he would have faced a disastrous event. Bauer collected the avoid dust orb and merrily placed it inside the little gourd. She put it next to her ear and gave it a shake. She then put the gourd away. This is not a place we should stay in for much longer. We should think about leaving. Han Sen picked up Bauer and teleported away. He knew he was not Qin Xiu's enemy, but it was pointless to stay. Besides, Han Sen wanted to go back to the Geno universe. He had to tell the people in Space Garden that they needed to be prepared. Qin Xiu had the God Chaos Party on his side. The 33 skies were going to be broken soon. The two universes would not be separated forever. Let me go see God Hall Leader first. I should inform him that Qin Xiu has been reborn. Han Sen left the 33 skies. He wore the Sky God crown and entered the God of Wealth Temple. He used the God of Wealth Temple to enter the Geno Hall. I see. It is no wonder I was unable to find Qin Xiu's spirit. I did not expect him to do something like this though. God Hall Leader fell into a deep phase of contemplation when he heard the sequence of events from Han Sr. What is that black crystal armor? Han Sen had always been very curious about that. The power of the black crystal armor was amazing. It made all kinds of creatures evolve. That power alone was enough to shock the whole universe. On top of that, the black crystal armor must have had another power Han Sen was not yet aware of. Although Han Sen had owned the black crystal armor for a long time, he had not really controlled or paid much attention to it. In fact, he did not really know much about it at all. If I have guessed things correctly, it is the gene origin, God Hall Leader said. What is a gene origin? Han Sen had heard about this before, but he never really understood what it meant. God Hall Leader sighed and said, it is something that is very hard to explain. You can treat it as the beginning of a gene. Do these things really exist? Han Sen did not dare believe it. Every creature was born in a different environment. The structure of everything's genes was different. If all the creatures had the same origin, which was what was being suggested, Han Sen found it impossible to believe. God Hall Leader laughed and said, let's not mention the fact that you don't believe it, but there was a time when I didn't believe it either. I heard what you said, so it really does sound like the legendary gene origin. If it is not the beginning of all things, then how could it make those creatures evolve? What you are saying makes sense, but it is still hard to believe something like that. Han Sen did not dare believe it. Now is not the time to say something like that, God Hall Leader said. If I have guessed things correctly, Qin Xiu has not yet come to fully control the gene origin. We have got to kill him before he takes full control of the gene origin, or find a way to get the gene origin back. That is something you'll need to consider. I am just a small human, so I do not have what it takes to mop up these messes. After Han Sen said that, he turned around to leave. He had a grudge against Qin Xiu, but he did not want to be a toy soldier for the god spirits. God Hall Leader did not plan on stopping Han Senator, he watched him leave. He then said to himself, although I am God, I cannot predict the universe, and I cannot see the future. Qin Xiu has calculated so much, but he will never figure out there was an accident. The future depends on that accident. If the accident wants to turn the tide will turn. Han Sun returned to the God of Wealth Temple. He used the Sky God crown to get another ability. All God spirits had that ability, but they had a time limit. The Sky God crown was spinning. Han Sen's entire body was wrapped up by God light as he traveled through space. When Han Sen's vision returned, the things around him already had changes that flipped the sky and the earth. This is Extreme King. I am back. Han Sen's body felt very light. He was no longer restricted by the universe he was in. He looked around and felt genuinely good. Although using the Sky God crown to enter the Geno universe had a short time limit, it did not much matter. He was back, and that was what mattered the most. Han Sun could not wait to use galaxy teleportation to enter Space Garden first. Galaxy teleportation was able to stop other people but not Han Senator. He teleported into Space Garden, but it was almost an unrecognizable place. He could not believe how it looked. Space Garden was far scarier than it was before. God-class plant xenogenics and scary plants were everywhere. I have only been gone 2 years, Han Sun said with shock. Why have there been so many big changes? Chapter 32-28 You are back. Many god plants were in Space Garden. One could not imagine it. Han Sun did not know if this was the result of Space Garden itself, or if it had to do something with the entire Geno universe exhibiting such changes. Han Sun remembered God Hall leader told him that because his fight against World King God was too destructive, the universe of kingdoms and Geno universe were affected. The universe of kingdoms had an abundance of pulses and gene eggs appear. The Geno universe had changed too, but God Hall leader did not elaborate. If this was it, Han Sun never expected the changes to be so grand. Who are you? Why have you come to Space Garden? A young man raised his sword at Han Senator. Han Sun looked at the young man. He looked familiar, but he could not recall where he had last seen him. Space Garden is a place I come and go to as I please. Who are you? And who are you? Stop me. Han Sun looked at the young man with interest as he spoke. The young man was not human. He was like a young man who belonged to the sky. The sky should have been in Sky Palace though. Han Sun had no clue what he was doing in a place like Space Garden. I am a student of Space Garden's Wu Xuan, the young man coldly said. I am patrolling Space Garden. You better not try and fight back. Follow me back and explain how you have come to be here. Sure, Han Sun said with a nod. Wu Xuan had not expected Han Sun to comply nicely. He was shocked, but he quickly reacted. He used a sword to point at Han Sun and said, Come on. Let's go. Han Sun was led by Wu Xuan to Space Garden's base. As he walked, he made sure to ask questions. You are one of the sky. Why don't you stay in Sky Palace to practice? What are you doing in Space Garden? Wu Xuan raised his head and looked proud. Space Garden is the Geno universe's first sacred place. Mr. Dollar used to practice here. Many people in the universe wish to study in this place. They want to feel Mr. Dollar's glory, but they cannot. Sky Palace is good friends with Space Garden, so only a few people can come here to study. I beat out many other competitors to come and study here. I see. Han Sun noticed that Space Garden was no longer like it used to be. Han Sun thought it was right. Even though he had not been there, Little Flower was still around. He then thought about Xie King, Gu Qingcheng, and the others. In his absence, the people from the sanctuaries had undoubtedly developed quite a bit. It would have been pretty silly if Space Garden had not become famous. Aside from Sky Palace, are there students from any other races coming to this place? Han Sun asked. This was not a secret. It was something everyone in the universe would have known. Thus, Wu Xuan was able to easily answer. Of course. Everyone knows Dollar's name in the universe. Although Mr. Dollar is gone, Mr. Fei and the other elites are still around. We're not talking about ordinary races here. Even if the super-rich races want to send their kids to Space Garden for practice, they must adhere to the extremely hard conditions set in place by Space Garden. No race is able to come in whenever they wish to. Aside from the sky, rebate and a few other races can come. For all other races, coming to study here is an exceptional privilege and task. Han Sen was surprised. He soon realized who the Mr. Fei he was talking about was. It was obviously his son Han Fei. He had been calling him Little Flower for so long that he had forgotten his original name. When he heard Little Flower's name, he still didn't react. Yu Wuxia looked cocky as he said, "I am Mr. Fei's student. I follow Mr. Fei's guidance for practice." "Where is Han Fei now?" Han Sen asked with a smile. Little Flower was not that old. He would not have been much bigger than Yu Wuxia, yet he was already taking students. It made Han Sen think Wu Yuxuang was in some way his grandstudent. "Why are you asking so many questions? Just follow me." Yu Wuxuang looked alert as he spoke to Han Senator. It looked like Yu Wuxuang was very territorial. When it came to aspects of Space Garden, he stopped talking. In Space Garden's base, Han Sen noticed it was now many times bigger. It looked like a massive city. The opulence on display was not unlike the capital of the Extreme King. He saw all kinds of creatures traveling around the place. Han Sen looked around and saw many familiar faces. Many humans and creatures from the sanctuaries were there. There were even many spirits. It looks like Little Flower brought over many humans, creatures, and spirits to this place from the sanctuaries, Han Sen thought. The only other person who was able to go in and out of the sanctuaries was his son, Little Flower. At the door of the base, 2 people were standing guard. One of them was obviously from the Extreme King, and the other was obviously from the Very High. They were similar to Wu Yuxuang. They were young men, so he thought they were also students who had been sent there to practice. The Extreme King young man pointed at Han Sen as he asked, "Yu Wuxuang, who is he?" "While I was patrolling, I noticed this invader slip inside," Yu Wuxuang said. "I am going to take him to see Mr. Tang." The Extreme King young man coldly said, "Outsiders cannot be taken to the city. Make him stay here. In the meantime, I will contact Mr. Tang." Han Sen quietly watched the Extreme King young man bring out a communicator to contact the person he wished to contact. He then heard a familiar voice. "What? Did you say an outsider tried to invade Space Garden? Watch him. I am coming over at once. I want to see who was powerful enough to breach our Space Garden." The voice was abruptly cut short. Han Sen heard a ping in Tang Zhenliu's voice. Han Sen looked at the Extreme King young man and said, "Looking at your face, you look rather familiar. Are you related to Bai Wanjia?" "How dare you say my father's name aloud?" the Extreme King young man said. He was furious. "Bai Wanjia is your father and you call him a king?" Han Sen said with shock. "So he was the one who took the throne for the Extreme King?" "My father took the throne," the Extreme King young man coldly said. "Everyone knows that. Are you trying to troll me or something stupid like that?" Han Sen shook his head. He had been away from the Geno universe for 2 years. It seemed as if many things had happened in his absence. Since this Extreme King Prince went to Space Garden to be a guard, it seemed as if the reputation of Space Garden in the universe had become very high. What is happening here? A female's voice sounded out from the city as a woman wearing green clothes walked out. The woman started to question Yu Wuxuang, but her eyes opened wide when her vision landed on the presence of Han Senator. Her eyes turned red. She was unable to believe who it was. It looked as if tears were going to fall any second. "You." The woman was only able to speak one word before stopping. "Exquisite, long time no see." Han Sen smiled and waved at her. He was surprised too. The Very High Exquisite was in Space Garden. You are back." Exquisite's eyes had tears start to fall. She had this overwhelming feeling of wanting to leap into Han Sen's arms. When she moved forward, she stopped. Her voice was a bit shaky. Chapter 32-29. A man who came from Hell. Exquisite sighed and said, "I have still been unsuccessful with Very High. Forget love." "Anti-Exquisite, do you know this man?" The Very High young man guard looked at Exquisite strangely. "Of course I recognize him," Exquisite said as she looked at Han Sr. "I did not think there was anyone who would not recognize him." After I came back, I have been witnessing many changes to this place, Han Sen said with a smile. This place is almost unrecognizable now. Exquisite, tell me, why are you in Space Garden? Seeing Han Sen smile, Exquisite smiled back. She replied, yes. In the past 2 years that you have been gone, many things have happened. The entire universe is not the same as it once was. Compared to outer sky, more people seek to practice in Space Garden instead. I am one such person. Exquisite was still holding on to something she did not want to outright admit. The reason she went to Space Garden was not that Space Garden was better than outer sky. It was because Han Sen was the one who built the place. Yu Wuxia and the guards were shocked when they saw Exquisite smile. Even the very high student did not believe she had that in her. People like Exquisite, who had already taken their very high sense to the max level and had very high forget love, no longer had emotions. They were supposed to be cold all the time. No one had ever seen her behave like this before. Yu Wuxia and the 2 guards felt very weird. They did not know who that man in front of them was. Whoever he was, he could make Exquisite display a joyful face. While they were wondering about his identity, a gold shadow flashed out of the city. A gold lion-like, big beast jumped in front of Han Sr. Yu Wuxia and the others were shocked. That gold shadow was not very big, but they knew how scary of a creature it was. Empty Mountain's mountain leader, the only golden growler in the universe, used to fight side by side with Dollar. Now he was an invincible existence in Space Garden. Even the Extreme King, very high, and Sky Palace elites were terrified whenever they laid eyes on Golden Growler. But they were just some small people. Golden Growler usually occupied a deep, faraway mansion. He spent time with the Han family's linger. For some reason, he had just come running from outside to jump at the mysterious man. Yu Wuxia and the others were shocked. Golden Growler jumped at him. Even an elite of the universe would have been half dead through simple fear. The guards thought the man was going to be instantly killed. In the next second, their eyes opened wide. They could not believe what they were seeing. Golden Growler jumped onto the man and put one of its front paws on his shoulder. It started to lick the man in joy, swinging its tail madly. It was like a big dog trying to earn the love of its master. Who is this man? Yu Wuxia and the other 2 people were absolutely confused. Golden Growler showing up had already shocked the elites. Shortly after, an old man excitedly broke space to come and kneel before Han Sr. Master, you are back. Yu Wuxia and the 2 guards felt as if their lives had suddenly been thrown into turmoil and challenge. That man, who called himself 9,000 King, had always been difficult. He was always very mean in Space Garden. Aside from Han Fei, Han Linger and a few other Han family members, he had a total lack of respect for everyone. One time when the very high leader visited, 9,000 King's nose was stuck up in the sky. He was completely uncaring for the prestigious guest. It was like he could not be bothered dealing with such a person. At one point he was such a scary existence. Now that man was kneeling profusely before Han Senator, it was hard to imagine. Old 9, there is no need for all this. Han Sen reached out his hand and lifted 9,000 King's body. Master, you are back. More and more scary creatures appeared. Flower God leader was very excited. Tang Junliu came running out with a hearty laugh. Holy shit. Old Han, are you back this soon? We are still planning on breaking down the space barrier to come to fetch you. Mr. Dollar, you are back. Finally, someone shouted Dollar's name. Upon hearing that, Yu Wuxia was stunned into submission. Mr. Dollar. He is Han Sen, the man who saved the world. He is the master of Space Garden. I thought he died. Can creatures really come back from hell? The whole of Space Garden was bubbling like boiling water. The news spread all over the very high. Some of the high races quickly received the news about the man who came back from hell. Good people do not live for long, and they harm for 1,000 years. That is correct. In the Extreme King, Bai Qin, who had already become king, looked into space and sighed. Finally you are back. In Blood Legion, Human King looked quiet. He looked as if he was thinking about something. How could he come back so quickly? Has he already beaten the system of reincarnation? Amidst the demons, the demon Alpha frowned. She looked confused. Hearing the news that Han Sen had come back from hell, every elite had a different reaction to the headline. Sky Palace leader laughed 3 times and then quietly mumbled, "The bad news is bad." Han Sen heard from Tang Jinliu and the others that Little Flower, Xie King, and the others were already out near Outer Sky's Mirror Lake. When he asked for details of what was going on there, and heard what they had to say, he knew for sure something had changed there. "Dad." Linger was like a little cat when she jumped into Han Sen's arms. "My little Linger, you have become more and more beautiful." Han Sen collected Linger and kissed her on the cheek. He suddenly felt so successful about having a daughter. "Han Sen, you are back." Wang Yuhang had tears gushing from his eyes when he saw Han Senator. This was still in the time Linger had forced him to remain in Space Garden, which was something that made him feel absolutely wretched. Seeing Han Sen return, he felt as if he was a farmer that had been suppressed, but was now being rescued by the PLA. "Little uncle, why do you look so terrible?" Han Sen looked at Wang Yuhang with shock. Wang Yuhang wanted to tell him what happened and how difficult things had been, but Linger was staring at him. He forced a smile and said, I have not slept well recently." The little red bird flew over too. It did somersaults around Han Sen, as if it was searching for something. "Bauer could not come back yet," Han Sen said to the little red bird. The little red bird felt depressed. It landed atop Linger's head. Han Sen had no choice. The Sky King crown only allowed him and him alone to return to the Geno universe. On top of that, there was a time limit. He could not bring Bauer back with him. When they went to the garden, there were only creatures around who were very close to Han. Senator Tang Jinliu asked, "Han Sen, how did you get back here from the other side? Is there a way you can get us to access there so we can go in and play?" "This time, I have come back to talk to you about that. If the others have gone to Outer Sky, though we should go to Outer Sky first." Han Sen used galaxy teleportation to teleport everyone to Outer Sky. Han Yen and the others had already learned about Han Sen's return, but they were still very excited to see the man in the flesh. Han Sen invited Very High Leader and Sky Palace Leader over too. He told them about the God Chaos Party trying to break the 33 skies. Very High Leader, Sky Palace Leader, and all the other elites did not look so good after hearing about it. According to what Han Sen was telling them, the elites of the universe of kingdoms were far stronger than the elites of the Geno universe. If the 33 skies were punched through, bridging the Geno universe, a disaster would surely unfold. Chapter 32:30 Fighting a group alone. Han Sen explained the situation to them once. "You guys don't have to worry all that much. Even if the 33 skies are broken and the creatures of another universe invade us, they will be repelled by the rules of this universe. Instead, the 33 skies might harm the universe." Han Sen's return delighted people, but the news he delivered made their joy short-lived. It made them gloomy. "I did not know power could be played like this. This is great. I was worried there wouldn't be any further chances to level up. After the 2 universes break, we can break the world too. Why do we have to be afraid of these guys?" Xie King rubbed his palms, ready for a fight. "By the way, Han Sen, I reached the max level now. I should be just as strong as you. Why don't we fight? Let's see the difference between having break world powers and not having break world powers." Xie King looked at Han Sen with excitement. "And me," Yi Dongmu, who had been sitting silently, said. "And me." Lin Feng and Huang Fujing threw their hats into the ring as well. They all focused on Han Sr. "This isn't about me wanting to crush you guys, but there is a big difference between being able to break the world and not being able to break the world," Han Sen said with a smile. "To see what the gap is, we have to see it firsthand through a fight," Xie King said as he curled his lips. "In that case, why don't you come at me?" Han Sen asked with a squint of his eyes. "Ha, ha. You're the one who said it. Later, don't cry and complain about us bullying you." After saying that, Xie King's strong body flashed. A silver necklace whipped in front of Han Senator. Yi Dongmu pulled out his knife. One almost couldn't see the flash of his knife light. The knife was already around Han Sen's waist. Lin Feng was different. He was like a Buddha. using his palm to crush the earth like a mountain or a tsunami breaking against a feeble shoreline. Huang Fujing teleported above Han Sen with her beautiful long legs, coming to slash Han Sen like a bat leaks. The four of them wielded different powers, but each of them was extremely scary. They reached the max level of what the universe was capable of, or perhaps even greater than that. They all had super bodies or king bodies. The power they brought was scarier than the creatures of the universe. We are coming in too. Han Yan and Gu Qingqing wanted to join the party. They both swung their swords at Han. Senator Gu Qingqing's sword skills were very overbearing. Han Yan's sword light was like a sword spirit that carried special power as it came slicing down. N2. Qin Xian's hand sword was straight, but it had a king path that was hard to describe. Many powers came slashing toward Han Senator. Although their full powers were not used, one could still see how scary it all was. Even Sky Palace leader and very high leader were shocked. The people from Space Garden were truly unique beings. They were not like any other creatures of the universe. If they wanted to, the number of elites they had in Space Garden was enough to conquer the entire Geno universe. In the end, they still looked at Han Senator. They wanted to know how strong the break world powers Han Sen talked about really were. Seeing so many scary powers come for him, Han Sen did not look as if he was going to move. He only flicked his finger. Suddenly, time seemed to move slower. Everyone's movements looked like they were dragged through a television slow-motion scene. In fact, it was not them who were moving slower. It was Han Sen using his Dongxian Sutra's break world power to change the size of the universe's cogwheels. He made the advancement of time proceed much slower. Han Sen, you underestimated us. Do you think changing the speed of time can enable you to beat us? Xie Qingqing roared as his body exploded with silver light. He was like a volcano erupting. The silver flames on his body were burning wildly, making his body break the altered flow of time. Huang Fujing's body teleported through the bindings of the new time speed. She raged even more with her wish to strike Han Senator. Yi Dongmu's eyes looked cold. His hand slashed through time and space. He was not affected by the new speed. Everyone behaved as if they knew this was going to happen all along. They all used their super body's power, wanting to teach Han Sen a lesson. Han Sen was still smiling. Seeing Han Yan's sword light become a sword spirit that was not affected by the trappings of time made him so happy. He said, "Little Yan has grown up." Although this was what he thought, his hands were not remaining idle. As he kept flicking his finger, the universe's most basic substances were changed. The sizes of the cogwheels were changed as well. Han Sen stood where he was, totally unmoving. Xie Qingqing, Huang Fujing, Lin Feng, Yi Dongmu, Han Yan, and the others all went wide alongside their powers. They were all thrown off course. Xie Qingqing's fist struck Yi Dongmu's sword to create an explosion that shocked the sky. The two of them were blasted backward. Huang Fujing's legs went up against Lin Feng's hands like a sky knife coming up against a mountain. The power was discharged, tearing a hole through space. Han Yan's sword spirit went against Gu Qingqing's sword air. The entire scene was a mess. Han Sen remained like his usual self, standing where he was. Xie Qingqing and the others, however, were at a disadvantage. It led to them looking at Han Sen with shock. If they learned Han Sen's power was stronger than them, they were not surprised. Just playing with their powers like that, in which he could control them like dolls, was a particular kind of scary. This was not just power. It was not on that level. Everyone started to like the concept of break-world powers. Every creature that came from the sanctuaries was proud. If they knew there was a way for them to improve even further, then that is what they wanted to do. Sky Palace leader looked at very high leader. They both looked worried. If the break-world elites all demonstrated powers similar to what Han Sen had just shown them, they would be in a lot of trouble if the 33 skies opened. The entire Geno universe was going to be thrown into disarray. You guys are still so weak, Han Sen said with a smile. If you want to fight me, you should learn how to break the world first. It is just breaking a world. It is no big deal. After I break the world, I will fight you again. Xie Qingqing was fine. He shouted and laughed. Not bad. Yi Dongmu coldly nodded. Han Sen and the others spoke about things concerning the 33 skies. Once that was done, he was able to be alone. He called over Little Flower and Linger to go to the sanctuaries and see Ji Yanran. Before he used his powers to visit the sanctuaries, someone stopped him. Han Sr., Mr. Bai. Hansen quickly bowed. Mr. Bai was the Xianmen's only inheritor. He taught Hansen some skills. Although Mr. Bai had never admitted it, Hansen had always treated him like a teacher. I want to see your break world powers. Mr. Bai was quick to explain to Hansen the reason why he had gone there. Of course you can see. Hansen displayed his break world power. He used the Dongxian Sutra to gather up a black light atop his finger. Mr. Bai had a look. He nodded and said, I see. In that case, take a look at my power. Is that a break world power? After Mr. Bai said that, he cooked up a light on his own finger. The light on his fingertip was white. The color was different, but Hansen sensed that the Dongxian Sutra's break world power was still quite similar to Mr. Bai's break world power. It just wasn't exactly the same. Mr. Bai, when did you learn to break the world? Hansen looked at Mr. Bai with shock. It was definitely break world power. After I watched you fight World King God, I learned something, Mr. Bai said. After that, I combined yin and yang. I just did not know that was break world power. You are so strong, Hansen said to compliment him. By watching him and World King God fight, Mr. Bai learned how to break the world. Mr. Bai, who was a Xianmen inheritor, was clearly a scary person. Chapter 32-31 Xian Beginner. The break world powers in the Geno universe were much harder to achieve than they were in the universe of kingdoms. Mr. Bai's ability to muster break world powers there was not just a testament to his talent and prowess. The Geno universe has a break world person. If the 33 skies are broken through, it is not as if we will be unable to fight back against the invaders. Hansen was not worried about the break world elites. Qin Xiu and Wan'er were the ones he feared. He viewed them as the biggest problem. Wan'er had not yet achieved break world powers, but her reverse super god spirit mode was scarier than any break world person could be. There was no need to even mention Qin Xiu, as he had already achieved breakthrough powers over 1 billion years ago. On top of all that, he controlled the black crystal armor. He easily suppressed Berry Path God, so it was unlikely anyone in the universe could beat him. Even the God Hall leader, who was a reboot god spirit, might not be able to suppress Qin Xiu unless if he used his reboot power. The most important thing about all of this, and what concerned Hansen the most, was that he couldn't see Qin Xiu's endgame. He didn't know what he was thinking. The God Chaos Party wanted to break through the 33 skies. They wanted to mess up the rules between the two universes to create more break world elites. By doing so, they could make the God Chaos Party stronger, and end up replacing the god spirits and their lofty Geno Hall. Qin Xiu used to travel between the two universes. He did that to revive Wan'er. Now Wan'er had been revived. Hansen did not know why he still wanted to break through the 33 skies. He did not know if Qin Xiu's coming was good or bad for the Geno universe. Back in the sanctuaries, Ji Yanran made a dish. She put down 4 sets of chopsticks and waited for the others to come. In a state of shock, Hansen asked Ji Yanran, "How did you know I was coming back?" Ji Yanran lifted her good-looking nose. She looked like she was smiling, but she was not smiling at Han Sr. Over the past few years, I have been learning the teachings of Xianmen. Although I am not finished, I can feel the sky mind inside it. Today, I felt something. I sensed you might be coming back, so I decided to make the food you usually like. I did not actually expect you guys to come back here. This is the first time my feelings were this accurate. Hansen looked at the food on the table. It was the food he and Little Flower loved, and Linger's favorite dessert was there too. It looks like your path along the teachings of Xianmen has really begun, Hansen said with shock. Xianmen was easy to learn but hard to get started with. To understand what was in there, and to also be able to use it, so rare. Hansen had been teaching Xianmen to others in the Geno universe for many years. There had yet to be another person thus far to learn it, and use it as well as Mr. Bai. He did not expect Ji Yanran had such talent, and she was only a beginner with it. I only know a little bit of stuff, but that is because you guys are all the most important things in my life, Ji Yanran gleefully said. That is why the feeling was so accurate. Before, there was a 90% chance that my guesses would be incorrect. After getting this right, I do feel like I understand more. Maybe I have got my foot in the door on learning Xianmen good and proper. Hansen thought about something else. If she has really learned the teachings of Xianmen, that means she can predict everything. Knowing that his wife was able to see the future sometime down the line, he felt weird. He thought everything he one day did would be peeped on. Cough. Cough. Xianmen is very complicated, Hansen quickly said. You cannot learn it fast. I think your talent has you capable of learning many Geno arts. Why don't I teach you some Geno arts instead? You can learn that first, then you can go to the Geno universe with me so we can see each other more. Ji Yanran shook her head. I am already pushing the boundaries of this. The Alliance universe is small, but the knowledge in the Alliance universe is the same as the Geno universe. Everywhere is the same. Wife, that is wrong. Although you can learn Xianmen anywhere, the Geno universe has me and Little Flower in it. If you and Linger went there, you and I can always be together. Hansen blinked and asked Linger, Don't you think so, Ling? Mother, you should go. If I stay here, I rarely see Little Flower and Dad. If I go there, I won't see you anymore, Mother. Linger shook Ji Yanran's arms as she spoke. Fine, Ji Yanran said with a nod. My wife is so smart. Later, I will teach you some Geno arts so you can go to the Geno universe sooner. Hansen was secretly very happy about it. Ji Yanran rolled her eyes at him. It looked like she was smiling, but she was not smiling at Han Sr. Do not think I have no idea what is going on in your mind. I am going to the Geno universe, but I am also going to continue learning Xianmen. Hansen felt like Ji Yanran's eyes were seeing through something, so he tried to explain things to her. Cough. Cough. I am not thinking of anything. Xianmen is a big path skill. Of course, you are going to have to learn it. The Xianmen inheritor, Mr. Bai, is in the Geno universe now. I will take you there so you can continue learning from him. That way, you will learn things faster. I do not want to dash your hopes, Ji Yanran said with a smile. I am going to practice it. I will then be able to calculate things for you in the future. Like, for example, how many women are going to try hitting on you? Cough. Cough. Hansen had just taken a sip of tea and almost choked. Why would someone ever think about hitting on me? Hansen asked. You think too highly of me. The Geno universe is full of monsters of different races. There are not many humans. Everyone thinks of beauty in a different light. There won't be any cheating going on. I see, Ji Yanran said with a smile. In that case, thank you very much. Should I find you a few in the Alliance? I heard Qin Xian and Huang Fujing went to the Geno universe. Oh right. I think Gu Qingqing is there as well. She is the prettiest human woman in existence. Hansen looked at Ji Yanran's smile. It felt like the smile was actually a blade hidden in the moon. He immediately sat up straight and avoided looking evil. He looked at Ji Yanran with love and said, In my eyes, the whole universe pales in comparison to how attractive you are. Qin Xian Gu Qingqing, and all the others are like female lions. I treat them like men. Hansen was surprised to eat all that food. He was now regretting letting Ji Yanran practice Xianmen skills. As an annihilation god spirit, if there was no special reason for it, Hansen could use the sky god crown to remain in the Geno universe for 4 days. He then had to go back to his god temple in the universe of kingdoms. The 4 days there were the most relaxing Hansen had spent in years. He taught Ji Yanran Geno arts and practiced with Little Flower. He stayed with Linger and took Ji Yanran for walks in the mall. He was really relaxed. If it was not for the God Chaos Party and Qin Xiu making trouble for all existence, Hansen would have preferred to stay in that moment forever. In the universe of kingdoms, a big and icy light appeared on the Chu Kingdom's border, Sea Hide system. It froze a lot of barren systems around it. It was like a big ice field in space. The other systems were affected by the ice. It made the temperatures very weird. In the star ice fields, people saw a bright moon atop it all. It was shining in endless space. Chapter 32 Condition. When Han Sen went back to the Qin Kingdom and Feng family castle, it was only 4 days later. He heard that the Chu Kingdom's border had a scary ice god pulse manifest, and so the concept tempted him quite a bit. His Dongxian Sutra and Blood Pulse Sutra were already able to break the world. The story of genes could manifest spell. He did not need more power, but his jade skin was lacking. It required a rare gene race to reverse the power of his body. The Chu Kingdom had a super ice god pulse show up. Perhaps there was a chance of a rare ice gene race showing up. Jade skin was not completely an ice element, but one ice gene race for its body was likely enough. So Han Sen wanted to go to the ice fields. Han Sen thought. After Qin Xiu took control of the God Chaos Party, the God Chaos Party has not tried to do anything attention-drawing. I am afraid things will end up as God Hall leader said. He has not gained complete control of the black crystal armor, and that is why he is worried. In these times, nothing explicitly bad should happen. Mr. Han, the king wants you to go and visit him. Before Han Sen could move, Qin Jingzhen's officer arrived at the Feng family castle to deliver a decree issued by the king. Han Sen thought about it, and decided on following the officer to go and see the king. When Wanner was revived, Qin Jingzhen ended up getting attacked by her. The wounds he had received were quite bad. Han Sen had not seen the king since that happened, so he was keen on learning about what happened to the man. When Han Sen next saw Qin Jingzhen, he frowned. Qin Jingzhen was a powerful elite. When he saw him, he was totally fine. Upon seeing him now, he looked pale. His eyes looked tired. It seemed as if he was still sick. Han Sen had a closer look. He sighed and said, I did not expect Qin Jingzhen's wounds to be even worse than I thought. I am afraid he will not live long. Qin Jingzhen smiled. He pointed at the chair and said to Han Sen, Please sit, Mr. Han. My king, why have you sought me out? Han Sen asked. With the condition Qin Jingzhen's body was in, he was not going to be asked there for a casual, midday chat. Qin Jingzhen sighed and said, Mister, you are a miracle man. I am sure you can tell that I am going to die soon. If you trust me, I can check your body over and maybe help you out, Han Sen said. While I may not be able to save your life forever, I can possibly make your life last a bit longer. In front of the Qin Kingdom's king, other people would have watched their words and spoke with great care. Han Sen, however, was not that worried. Please, master, Qin Jingzhen said without any doubt. On any other day, Qin Jingzhen would not have let any random person touch his body. This time was different. The Qin Kingdom had many elites, but no one had been able to do anything to alleviate his wounds. Even Jian Bugu said he could only live for another year at the most. Qin Jingzhen was not too worried about his safety anymore. Plus, Han Sen had saved Bai Qin inside the Alpha Temple and drew Wanner away. It made Qin Jingzhen trust him a bit more. That was why he was not so worried about letting him help now. Han Sen reached out his finger and placed it on Qin Jingzhen's forehead. He was forced to use his Dongxian Sutra's power and inject it into the ailing man's body. The structure of Qin Jingzhen's body went into Han Sen's brain. All of his cells were dyed with gold light. The gold light was very bright. Although it was very weak, it was hard to ignore its existence. It was Wanner's power. It seemed to be very beautiful, but it was a deadly thing to Qin Jingzhen. When the gold light corroded him, Qin Jingzhen's gene chains had become gold. Now 10% of his gene chains were gold. If this kept going on, when it reached 30%, Qin Jingzhen's body would be destroyed. He would be a dead man. Qin Jingzhen had 3 powers. Suppressing the spread of the gold light did not seem to work very well. It was hard to stop the gold light completely in its tracks. According to the speed of the gold light, Qin Jingzhen really had less than a year to live. Han Sen pulled his finger back. He looked at Qin Jingzhen and frowned. I know my condition, Qin Jingzhen said. You can tell me what you think without beating around the bush. Be direct. Han Sen nodded and said, According to the examination I have conducted on your body, if there is no other power to heal you, you only have 1 more year to live. Teacher Jian said that too, Qin Jingzhen said with a wry smile. It looks like I really am going to die this time. Although he was a king, he could not face his mortality. Qin Jingzhen really did not want to die yet. Maybe not, Han Sen said after a brief hesitation. Qin Jingzhen's eyes immediately grew brighter. He looked at Han Sen and asked, Mr. Han, do you have a way to fix my wounds? Qin Jingzhen looked for Han Sen because he thought he now had hope. This was his final hope. He had consulted with many others. Even the annihilation god spirits that protected the Qin family were unable to do anything for the wounds Qin Jingzhen had sustained. Qin Jingzhen had already given up, but Jian Bugu was the one to suggest seeking out Han Sen and see if he could help him out. After thinking for a moment, Han Sen said, I am not sure I can completely heal you, but I do have a way to extend your life for about 3 to 5 years. In the time I can give you, perhaps a more permanent solution can be found. Qin Jingzhen developed a wry smile and said, I would like to live another 3 to 5 years. You might not believe me when I tell you this, but I am not afraid of death. There is something I do not want to leave behind unfinished. Is this because of the crown prince? Han Sen asked. Mr. Han, you really know me, Qin Jingzhen said with a sigh. The Qin kingdom is the greatest kingdom in the universe. It is very powerful. It is stronger than the other 6 kingdoms, but it is also different from the other 6 kingdoms. The Qin kingdom is a kingdom founded on law. The king is the highest. Without a king, other departments can continue to function. The country will still operate, but my son is still young. He still wants to play. For a boy his age to run a country, it would be terrible. I am afraid he will mess up the fate of the kingdom. Qin Jingzhen said it clearly, and Han Sen understood what he meant. If Qin Bai succeeded his father on the throne, someone might steal his power and operate the boy like a puppet. The Qin kingdom is in trouble. There are so many problems facing us. I would like to live a few more years so I can give my son a safe country. Qin Jingzhen looked at Han Sen seriously and said, Mr. Han, no matter the price I must pay, please let me live a few years longer. I do not want to die now. I will do what I can. It will not be hard extending your life for 3 to 5 years more, but any longer than that will be dependent on your body. Han Sen paused before saying, The skills I use will have their effect on you. To use this method, there is a condition. Chapter 32-33 Mirror Moon. Please tell me, Mr. Han, Qin Jingzhen seriously said. I have already told you that if it does not hurt the Qin kingdom, I would do anything for this. Han Sen thought for a moment and said, There are legends in the Qin kingdom that claim there is a Jin race called the Dark Big Evil Dragon King. It has the coldest power and most een. If you can give me that Jin race, there is a 100% guarantee that I will be able to extend your life for at least 3 years. If you are lucky, you will have another 5 years to live. When Qin Jingzhen heard about the Dark Big Evil Dragon King, his face changed. Before Qin Jingzhen could speak, a cold voice sounded from the screen behind him. The Dark Big Evil Dragon King is the Qin Kingdom's country-suppressing god spirit Jin race. For what purpose do you want that item? While they were talking, the voice of an overbearing, white-haired old man was heard. He appeared by walking out of a screen. He had a grand life force. It was very scary. The sense of suppression he exuded was like that of a mountain. The white-haired old man's power was shocking. His eyes were like those of a knife as he peered at Han Senator. He was far more overbearing than Qin Jingzhen. Han Sen, however, did not react. He did not look at the old man with white hair. It was like he did not exist. Even a reboot god spirit and Qin Xiu, those types of elites, could not make Han Sen quiver and obey. He was just a Qin kingdom elite. Please do not be mad, Qin Jingzhen politely said to the old man with white hair. Mr. Han saved my life, and he saved my son's life. He is not someone evil. My king, you can never tell the true face of a person, the old man with white hair coldly said. There are many things you should exercise caution with. The wounds on your body are something an annihilation god spirit is unable to do anything about, and this man is just an average mister. He says he has skills that are as grand as the sky. Can he be better than the annihilation god spirits that safeguard the Qin family? He did not really care for Qin Jingzhen's feelings. After that, Han Sen was surprised. He looked at the old man with white hair. He did not know who he was, or how he was permitted to talk to Qin Jingzhen in such a way. According to theory, the Qin kingdom should have had Qin Jingzhen as the highest figure of authority. Even if the power of some elites was greater than Qin Jingzhen, they would still have to care for Qin Jingzhen's feelings when they addressed him. Qin Jingzhen quietly said, "There must be valid reasons for Mr. Han requiring the dark big evil dragon king. Let's just allow Mr. Han to explain himself. It does not matter what reasons he has, but the dark big evil dragon king cannot be used by outsiders," the old man with white hair confidently said. It was like his words were a decree of the highest order. Qin Jingzhen's face looked cold, but he still tried to keep his cool and not flip a lid. "I would not give the dark big evil dragon king to outsiders on a whim. You think way too much. If there is nothing constructive you would like to tell me, I suggest you just go back. I still have many things I wish to tell Mr. Han." The old man with white hair stared at Han Sen and said, "Whatever you say does not matter. I will not permit the dark big evil dragon king to be given to anyone. It can only be a treasure of the Qin family and no other." After that, the old man with white hair turned around and left. He did not bow to Qin Jingzhen. The words he said were meant for Qin Jingzhen. "My king, do you mind telling me who that person was?" Han Sen was upset by what that man said. The dark big evil dragon king was very famous in the Qin kingdom. It was the coldest Jin race with the most Yin. Han Sen had only heard about it, but he thought he could use it with jade skin. If he did that, he would not have to go to the Chu kingdom to get another super god pulse. The dark big evil dragon king was a rare Jin race. It was also a god spirit Jin race. It was better than an annihilation god spirit. If he used it to practice Cold Sutra, it would surely save him a lot of bother. Qin Jingzhen wanted to live, so he would consider handing it over no matter how grand a Jin race was. It was not as important as the fact of being able to live. Now there was that old man who had upset Han Senator. It made Han Sen's plan get ruined. He had failed. He is the Qin family's elder. I do not know how long he has lived, but he is the base of the Qin family. Qin Jingzhen only said that. He did not say anything else. He clearly did not want to talk about the old man any further. Qin Jingzhen looked at him and said, "Mr. Han, you want the dark big evil dragon king. Does this really have something to do with healing me?" Han Sen was not going to lie. He shook his head. "It is actually not related to it. If I am forced to heal your wounds, it will cost me a lot of energy. No offense, but you are neither my friend nor my family. There is no reason for me to hurt myself to save you. If it was not for the crown prince being my friend, even if you gave me your rare Jin race, I might not care about you. You are a very honest man." When Qin Jingzhen heard that, he felt more relaxed. If Han Sen really wanted nothing, then that would be really weird. It would have been pretty hard to understand. "Mr. Han, do you really need the dark big evil dragon king? That is our kingdom-suppressing god spirit Jin race. Even I cannot use it casually. If you only need the Jin race, I have a Jin race that is no inferior to the dark big evil dragon king." Qin Jingzhen did not keep talking, but what he wanted to say was obvious. Han Sen said, "The dark big evil dragon king is not really what I require. I need a pure Jin race that has the Yin and the cold, or the Yin and the soft power. I wonder if you have a Jin race like that." Qin Jingzhen looked troubled. He receded into deep thought. His eyes eventually went bright. "I do not have a Jin race like that, but I know where you might be able to find one. That Jin race is not owned by anyone either. The Jin race's power and skills are just like the dark big evil dragon king. Truth be told, it might even be better. With Mr. Han's skills, it might be possible to claim it." "What kind of Jin race is it?" Han Sen asked with curiosity. It was a strong Jin race, and it was not owned by anyone. Han Sen was able to claim it. That just sounded strange. Qin Jingzhen was a cool man. Even in the middle of a life or death crisis, he was still able to smile and say, "That Jin race is called Mirror Moon. Does that mean Mirror Flower Water Moon?" Han Sen thought about the name. It sounded soft. It was like a water element Jin race. Qin Jingzhen shook his head and said, "Mirror Moon isn't about the Mirror Flower Water Moon. This Jin race has nothing to do with water. I cannot tell you what kind of gene race it is, but its power should be related to Yin and coldness. The heart is like a mirror. It is like it reflects the moon. Without a doubt, an understanding destiny. The two words came from a great man who once belonged to the great forgotten man. That is where the name Mirror Moon came from. Qin Jingzhen's face looked weird. Which great man was that? Han Sen thought. It could not be Qin Xiao. Night God no moon. When Qin Xiao said the name, he looked even weirder. Perhaps you have never heard of that name before, but she is a great person in the history of the Qin kingdom. Chapter 32-34 Half a Candle. Night God no moon? Isn't that the name given to moon god by the Qin kingdom? Does she have a gene race in the Qin kingdom? Han Sen was shocked by this. If there was a gene race left behind by moon god, it could be unique. Qin Jingzhen said. Let's not mention this person Night God no moon. But just this mirror moon gene race has a very legendary story behind it. What is so amazing about this gene race? Han Sen asked with curiosity. Qin Jingzhen said. This gene race has a legend that Night God no moon's friend left behind. After that person died, Night God no moon did not keep the gene race. She kept it someplace. Whenever she missed that friend, she went to see that gene race and speak with it. Of course, there is another side to the story. It says that Night God no moon was never able to claim that gene race, and that was the reason why she kept it there. In fact, that gene race has been in the Qin kingdom for 1 billion years, but no one has ever been able to claim it. Fortunately, its personality is considered a rather nice one. As a matter of fact, it is even a bit lazy. If you do not incite its wrath, it will not hurt anyone. It has always been kept inside Jade Wall City. I did not know that. Han Sen was very curious about this creature, so he could not help but ask, what species is this gene race? If you are interested, Mr. Han, please go and take a look. Qin Jingzhen paused. He spoke to an officer and said, take Han Sen to Candle Garden. Mr. Han, I am sick. I cannot go with you. You go check it out. It will be a fantastic thing if you are able to claim it. If you cannot, we will think of something else. Qin Jingzhen coughed at Han Sr. Take care, my king. I will leave you now. Han Sen did not suggest a way in which he could help Qin Jingzhen yet. It was not like Han Sen did not want to help him. It was just that he had no better way to do it. Wanner's power was all over Qin Jingzhen. The only thing that could save his ravaging was Wanner. Not even Qin Xiao would have been able to help him. Han Sen's super god spirit mode repelled Wanner's power, but Wanner's power was far stronger now. His super god spirit mode worked on Qin Jingzhen, but he could not scrub it all away. Han Sen forced himself to break the rules of the universe to use the super god spirit mode and delay the inevitable death of Qin Jingzhen. It was because of his super god spirit mode. Other people were not even able to extend his life by 1 second, and breaking the universe was considered taboo. It cost super god spirit mode power to do this. Han Sen only asked for a god spirit gene race in return, so it was not too costly. Han Sen said Qin Jingzhen might one day be all better. That was not entirely a lie. Qin Jingzhen was Qin Xiao's heir. If he was able to live when Qin Xiao came back, perhaps there was a chance Wanner would be willing to save him. That was one of the possibilities Han Sen had considered. If Han Sen was able to reverse his super god spirit mode, he could save the dying king himself. That was another chance he could put faith in. At the end of the day, though, these two opportunities for saving the king were in the future. At this point, no one could do anything. Han Sen went to Candle Garden, which had a weird presence. It kept appearing and disappearing. Sometimes it was there, and sometimes it was not there. It made Han Sen be unable to look at it. Candle Garden is a place where no trespassers may go, the officer said at the gate. He did not go forward. Without the king's orders, no one is allowed to enter. I can only bring you this far. Thanks. Han Sen pushed the door open and went into Candle Garden. Candle Garden was big, but the big garden did not have flowers, grass, woods, or trees. It did not have fake mountains or streams of water. The ground was composed of stone boards. There was also a small pavilion. The small pavilion was very tiny. Compared to the garden at large, it was very empty. Hansen looked at the stone desk inside the stone pavilion. The garden did not have anything in it. There was only the stone desk on the inside, which had half a white candle. Hansen felt a weird presence earlier. He determined it came from this strange half-candle. Weird. If this half-candle is the legendary gene race, it should be a fire element one. Why did Qin Jingzhen say it was Yin and cold? Why does the half-candle not seem to have anything to do with Mirror Moon? Is this half-candle not Mirror Moon's gene race? Hansen frowned as he looked around. The results of the inspection were the same as before. Aside from the half-burned candle, there was nothing else to be in the garden. Besides the fact that there were no gene races there also weren't any ordinary plants. This is a little strange. Is the half-candle really Mirror Moon? Hansen stepped toward the stone pavilion. He sensed that the candle was nothing ordinary, but the presence was very hidden. Hansen could not see it clearly. Outside the pavilion, he did not think the candle was very special. When he went to the stone pavilion, he felt cold. Everything seemed to go dark. It was like he had just entered a cold and dark cave. He could not see anything beyond the pavilion. Everything was pitch black. He could not even see his fingers. All he could see was the very dim light of the candle that was down upon the table. The light was weird. The candlelight outside the pavilion looked yellowish. It looked like any ordinary candle. As he looked upon it now, the candlelight was bluish and greenish. It was a distinctly ghost-like fire, and it released a scary and cold air. The cold air in the stone pavilion came from the candle. Hansen entered the stone pavilion. He suddenly heard the old man with white hair, whom he had encountered in the palace, coldly said, "You are an outsider, yet you wish to take Mirror Moon. If you were smart, you would leave right now. If you are too slow, I am afraid you are just going to die here." After pausing, the old man with white hair said, "Jingzhen fears his demise. He must have become possessed. His wounds cannot be healed by an annihilation class elite. He believes an outsider human can help him. It looks like he is just a commoner after all. He is nothing like how a true king should be. If the Qin kingdom can ever hope to unite the universe, it will always boil down to the strength of an heir." After saying that, the old man with white hair looked glum as he said, "Jingzhen only has one son, Qin Bai. On top of that, the kid is an asshole. The Qin kingdom's fate is something we should worry about. I am afraid I will have to wait for the right moment. I should wait for the real Qin king to show up." Hansen looked at the candle and thought, Qin Jingzhen did not lie. This half-candle is a yin and cold gene race after all. Still, it is a bit different. While it has fire, the fire is awfully cold. What kind of gene race is this? Why is it called Mirror Moon? While he was thinking, Hansen stepped toward the candle. Even if that half-candle wasn't a worthy match for Jadeskin, having that powerful gene race was still beneficial. Chapter 32-35 Mirror Moon Candle. As Hansen got closer to the candle, the cold air felt very heavy. Even someone like Hansen, who had a strong body, felt the cold air penetrate him. Weird. This power does not seem to be a cold element. Otherwise, Jadeskin should have been able to resist it. Now the cold air goes into my body, but Jadeskin does not react. It is not just a cold element. It isn't that simple. Hansen was more interested in that half-burned candle. The reverse Dongxian Sutra ran on its own because it was a power native to the universe of kingdoms. Unlike its counterpart, it wasn't going to be hampered by the rules that govern the universe. The reverse Dongxian Sutra was different from the powers of the primary Dongxian Sutra. The main Dongxian Sutra power came through the Dongxian Aura's powers of analysis and inspection. The Dongxian Sutra did not need to analyze things either. It could just simulate the powers of an opponent. It was kind of like a copying machine. No matter what the content was, it would just copy it. If the main Dongxian Sutra was a skill, then the reverse Dongxian Sutra was a violent skill. Hansen's power was suddenly swapped. It became the cold power, which was practically the same. It was different from the main Dongxian Sutra. The reverse Dongxian Sutra was violent, but it could only be used after it had been transformed. One was not able to witness the miracles inside it. Even though Hansen was now using a power that was the same as the candle, he had no idea what kind of power it was. Although that was enough, Hansen's power became just like that of the half-burned candle. He suddenly felt like the dark was starting to fade away. The cold air went away. The stone pavilion was still the stone pavilion, and the candle was still the candle. Hansen still stood in the pavilion. It felt as if everything was just a dream. Hansen knew that this was not a dream. He still felt the candle's power, which was very scary. It was different from before. The power started to get closer to him. It was clearly because Hansen's power had changed. It thought he was one of them, or it was getting closer because it sensed the same power. Hansen tried to get close to the candle, and the candle did not deny him. The white half-burned candle still burned with gold fire. There was no longer a cold feeling from it. Beneath the burning candlelight, Hansen felt warm. It was like he was bathing in fire. "Can you talk to me?" Hansen walked in front of the stone table to talk to the white half-burned candle. The white candle was an unknown creature. Obviously, it could not speak or think for itself. Yet, it shook its light to try and communicate. "Are you Mirror Moon?" Hansen asked. He wasn't sure if his question would be answered. The half-burned candle shook a little. It looked like a confirmation. "Do you know Moon God?" Hansen asked. The candle's flame shivered a little. It clearly recognized Moon God. "Are you Moon God's gene race?" Hansen asked another question. This time, the candle's flame jumped twice. Hansen knew what that meant. Clearly, it was not a gene race that belonged to Moon God. If it jumped twice, it meant no. Hansen's eyes squinted as he asked, "Did Moon God try and take you away?" He saw the flames of the candle jump once. So Hansen immediately proceeded to ask, "Does that mean you did not want to follow her?" The candle's light jumped. Hansen was shocked. It looks like there is some truth to the legend after all. It was not that Moon God did not want to take it with her. She just couldn't take it with her. Hansen looked at the candle and asked, "In that case, are you willing to follow me?" He directly asked that question because there was no need to beat around the bush. If Jadeskin did not react, that meant the strange half-burned candle could not be used to reverse his Jadeskin body. It would have been great if he could take it with him. If he couldn't, he would not be missing out on much. This time the half-burned candle's flame did not move. After a while, it flickered once. "That means you want to follow me," Hansen said with glee. The candle, which was called Mirror Moon, was amazing. It would have been excellent if he could take it with him. It would likely come in handy at some point. This time the candlelight jumped extra fast. Despite that quick flicker of the flame, the actual body of the candle itself did not move an inch. It was rather strange. Hansen felt compelled to ask, "Can't you move?" The candle's flame flickered one time, and one time only. That seemed to suggest Hansen was indeed right in his clever deduction. The gene race he was talking to was not able to move by itself. If it needed to move, it would require a helping hand. This was too weird. Gene races at Mirror Moon's level had an annihilation god spirit power, yet it could not move. That was very hard to believe. It can't talk or communicate. It cannot even move. What kind of god spirit gene race is this? Hansen looked at Mirror Moon weirdly before asking, "Can I just use my hands to pick you up?" After receiving an answer, Hansen put his hands around the half-burned candle and picked it up. The moment Hansen picked the candle up, he sensed darkness ahead. He felt as if space and time around him had been twisted by a strange power. Hansen stood where he was, looking ahead with caution. One could not tell what sort of emotions he was feeling. It was like he was seeing a ghost but was not scared. "If I tell people what happened, no one will believe what I have seen." Hansen held the candle with a wry smile. He understood why the candle had a strong and cold presence. That presence was not simply a cold power. Hansen had a closer look. He saw that the space above Jade Wall City displayed many transparent, white ghosts flying. They were all headed into the sky. They weren't just above Jade Wall City. All of space seemed to be filled with transparent ghosts drifting off into the skies. The spirits featured old people, young men, men and women. It looked like they all knew Geno arts. Everyone was flying in that direction. This scene was incredibly beautiful. All the dead souls in the universe were flying. It was indescribable how creepy and awesome the scene was. Hansen's vision focused on a giant god hall. The giant god hall had 4 giant words on it. Geno Hall. Hansen was shocked. Does this mean the white, transparent souls are the souls of creatures that are reincarnating? Does that mean the Geno Hall is a place where the 2 worlds can connect? Hansen quickly put the candle back on the stone table. The spirits and the Geno Hall instantly disappeared from the sky. When he picked up the candle again, all of that was revealed again. This half-burned candle's power is connected to the concept of reincarnation. Hansen was shocked as he held the candle. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.